Good day. Hello, Braun. Braun was the first one. What's up, Braun? Oh, right. I don't have music going. Per the usual. That is far too loud. Hi, Braun. Meow, meow, meow. You know? Sometimes you just gotta meow, meow, meow. Oh, I wish I was farming some Path of Exile on Abyss. Um. Today we got some class, so gotta make sure we get that going. Speaking of, let me quickly update the stream's thumbnail. Meow, 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 meow. Gotta find chalk. Where's chalk at? Chalkboard. Alright, cool. Now we can change that thumbnail so it's actually accurate on YouTube. And then later I'll update it with some extra nice visuals to make it all cute. Oh, hello, Tetsuru. Alright, guys, so I don't have a great lesson plan for today. I'm so sorry. We'll be doing our best, though. You know? Let me just get out my art tablet. That's the biggest thing. Kind of need that to teach my class. Meow, meow, meow. Email. Me being a brat? Yeah, I bet you are. She's such a brat, Chad. She likes to walk over and antagonize me just because she knows that annoys me. But, like, you know she's doing it in the endearing, loving kind of way, you know? Chat, I can be heard, right? Heyo. Oh, hey, Lily. Oh, I never start up floppy. That's the other important thing that we need. Stream stuff. Start VTube. I'm also going to quickly open Path of Exile 1, because a lot of people went into the guild who are not in the guild yet. Hi, Pot Pie!
Put out new mycelium!
New mycelium?
Ugh, new roots!
CJ Panda! Welcome, welcome. Alright, sorry, I'm juggling so many things to get started. Okay, apparently Twitch forgot my login token for VTuber Studio. Okay, cool. Hopefully you guys are still able to pet that dog. Let me actually get the camera working first. Finally got your 4th Ascendancy. Thank you for the help with the Beginner's Guide video. Just getting back into PoE, and it was a great refresher. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we're just going to be teaching class today. Speaking of... Hey, look at that. It's double floppy. Alright. Wow. Hello, everyone. Class of Exile. Woo! Okay, so bad news. I do need to remove the music from the stream, because I have started working on my videos for Class of Exile, and I can't actually have the videos and the music at the same time, unfortunately. They don't like to intersect, because I need to be able to cut out the dialogue, you know, that I say during my video skits. Meow 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 meow. Meow 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 meow. Sorry, ignore me. That song's just really stuck in my head now. Alright. Hello everyone! Class of Exile! Woo! Oh man, maybe I shouldn't. Okay, I'm not even gonna show you guys the full thing, but I was working on that video render, and I didn't realize I keep doing this, but here, let me open this real fast. Does that get picked up on... Yeah, I started the first video the same way. Woo! Class of Exile! Let's go! I don't know why I like to say woo! You guys get a brief sneak peek of the upcoming video. Learn it first day. It depends on the course, though. Nah, we don't do a syllabus in this class. We need to make sure that you guys are keeping up with the material as we learn it. This is the kind of content you can come to expect on the main channel. Use your phones as calculators. You won't need to, so put it away, Jasper. Okay? We won't be doing calculators today. This should mostly be pen and paper math. Anyone who struggles with percentages, you might have a rough time. I'm sorry. Let's get class 1 underway. I feel like we've given enough time for students to show up. We are starting 40 minutes later than I announced. I just want you guys to know this is very true. This is very accurate. Malsui is in fact great at his time management and is always consistently up at the right time for his stream. You know, guys? Yeah, I think you guys understand. Let's see. Do I have any other good moments in this? Surely. All right, anyways, I'll leave that as just a little brief preview you guys get. I have a lot more work to do on it. That's about 2 minutes long. I've gotten about 4 or 5 minutes of it done, which, to be fair, is almost like half the class. So the whole video should only be about 10 to 15 minutes long. But I figure that's not a bad thing. And it takes me a lot less time, to make those compared to the normal. So, let's begin with Class of Exile. Class of Exile. I believe this is Class 5, which I am amazing at drawing 5s. That's another thing that you guys might not know about me. I'm fantastic at drawing 5s and straight lines. Moo, what are you doing in there? Okay, she's in the closet, like, exploring. Maybe she's using the restroom in the closet? I hope not. Because it's been kind of smelly in the room, which isn't abnormal because we have a litter box in here, but it's been more smelly than usual. And I wonder if Izuna, since she's, stressed and back to the house, if she's, like, using the restroom in the middle of the closet, like, somewhere hidden in the back. Alright, anyways, yeah, Milesweet is also great at keeping on topic. Let's talk about... We are going to be discussing items, which includes affixes, prefixes, suffixes, all that jazz, which, if you've watched my crafting video, you should understand. But if not, we'll be covering that. And crafting. Now, this is going to be a very, very loose guide today, so we're not going to, like, go over everything in super detail. I'm not going to go over what every currency does and all that. Instead, the goal for today is that we will be covering just the basics of how items work, how affixes, prefixes, and suffixes operate, how certain interactions within crafting work within both games, and then we'll probably go over how modifiers work for those of you who didn't quite understand it from my video. Because I feel like I did a good job representing how, like, rolling for modifiers works and weights and stuff. But I know there were quite a few people in the comments that still had questions about it. So, moving on from that, let's talk about affixes. Affixes. Alright. We'll move this over here. No, actually, we'll keep affixes in the center. Because within an affix, there are 2 types of affixes. Now, what is an affix? We should probably start with that, actually. An affix is just what we call any modifier that is added onto an item. Now, This is Class of Exile for 1 and 2. Technically speaking, I have it listed as 1, so anyone who hasn't gotten their Twitch drops can still get them today. Especially because we're only like 20 or 30 subs away from my mom playing Path of Exile. So I want to try and cash in on that as much as I can. But besides that, this should cover roughly both games. We'll go over the nuances and the differences, but that's why I don't want to go in detail with the crafting materials. Sakimoto, thank you. I will hydrate. Okay. I have bad news. I just drank the last of my water. There was barely any on my desk. Or sorry, not Sakimoto. Sakimoto. I am going to quickly go grab a water, chat. We just started, and I'll be right back. Remember me, chat? Get over here, Brett. No, I'm gonna get you. Well. Okay, that's all the beating you get. Alright, chat, I've returned. I had to beat my daughter. Don't clip that. Don't take that out of context. She just okay, my cat really likes to be beaten. Okay? That still sounds bad. No, get over here. She just really likes to be slapped. Whoa, Saki. Don't say that. Hey, Simblast, welcome. I see you. What is an item? You know what? You know what? We'll change that. Equipment. Actually, we'll change that again. It is going to be items with rarity. You can't have modifiers without rarity. You need rarity on anything to get the modifiers. Part of that means that like things like strong boxes also have affixes. Now, as we kind of alluded to, affixes can fall either under prefix or suffixes. Here, we'll move the suffix over here. Chat, suffix is 2 Fs, right? Yes. So, top 3 modifiers. This one will be bottom 3. We'll just remove modifiers. So, rarity does come into play here. So, you guys are probably all aware of this. But anything that has rarity can come in. We're going to ignore unique rarities here, but we can have 3 rarities for the most part, which is going to be normals, and that will be 0 affixes. We will have magic, which we'll even color code here, might as well. And magic items can have 2 affixes. And finally, we can have rare. And rare items can have 6 affixes. You know, I'm realizing I don't have ghost chat up. I was like, man, I really feel like I'm missing something on my stream. And Ron, no, I'm not staying sane. Sorry, I missed your thing. Miles Swee. And let's get at Miles Swee right here. Alright, cool. We'll keep that off stream just because, you know, technically speaking, I'm not supposed to have it on the stream. Because it goes on top of the hot dog. Stimblast, what are you saying? I'm so confused. Alright, so now that we have the fact that there are 0 affixes, 2 affixes, and 6 affixes, we will list down here affixes are always split between prefix and suffix. Okay. So what this means by split, we're going to say evenly. Between, we'll say max here. So, affixes go on hot dogs. Saki, that is not what I said. So, you guys have seen my board before, probably, if you've watched the crafting guide, but let's go over this real fast. Let's assume we have an item here. Right? Again, this is the same in Path of Exile 1 and 2. Here, we are going to cheat today. So we'll say that this is an item. And it's got a bunch of modifiers on it, right? All right. As we discussed, let me get that pencil size back up. We are going to have our prefix modifiers and our suffix modifiers. Initially, on a normal rarity item, you'll get nothing. There will be no affix modifiers at all on any item. That is just how it means to be a normal rarity item. It means it does not have any bonus modifiers or affixes. Then, moving up, if you become a magic rarity item, you will have access to 1 prefix right here and 1 suffix down here. What that means is you get 1 and 1, right? We said that magic items get 2 affixes, and they are split evenly between the max amount. So right there. This does not mean that every magic item has... Yeah, there's very few exceptions, but I know what you're talking about, Cardron. There's like things along the lines of like certain items can have positive prefix or suffixes, some can get reduced, and so on and so on. Yeah, exactly. Things like the new necklaces or amulets that they added for not Breach. I think Breach might have something like it too. Yeah, no, Breach does, but there's also the new one from Delirium. Yeah, exactly. Now, what this means is that you don't always have two of these. It is possible that you only have one prefix, but that you were unlucky and did not roll a suffix. Or vice versa, if you're in Path of Exile 2, if you use a single transmute orb, right, then the transmute will add one prefix or one suffix only. It will not add both. Within Path of Exile 1, you can use a transmute and get both. Oh yeah, Venom, welcome, welcome. We're just getting started. So, again, these are the maximum numbers, the prefixes and suffixes. Moving up, as we, again, have said, you can then get rares, right? And rare items, as we said, can have 6 total affixes. And since, again, it is split evenly between the max amount of affixes... Here, we might as well keep that one. You're going to get 1, 2, 3... we'll write that over here, 4. Great, we'll put it on the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you're going to have 6 total maximum affixes on an item. When you have, a rare item. And as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3 prefixes and 1, 2, 3 suffixes. Again, this is pretty standard stuff, but I want to go over the basics for anyone that doesn't quite understand this. This is why when you are upgrading an item from magic to rare, you usually first want to make sure that you get both. Here, I'm actually going to... You want to make sure that you have both of the 1 and 2 for the magic modifiers, because those are very cheap, common materials to craft them, versus to get rare modifiers, you either need to use exalted orbs or regal orbs, and those can be a lot more expensive, especially early on into a league. Biscuit, you're going to play Terraria with some friends, have a good class. Yeah, Biscuit, have a fun time with Terraria. And just call me Snap. I am doing good. I am just, we are having a class of Exile today. And Class of Exile is where we teach certain subjects about the game in detail. So today we're going over items and crafting in general. We have a whole crafting video on the YouTube channel, which I think does an amazing job teaching crafting, but I want to go over the things like this in detail for anyone who is still struggling to understand it all. Now, again, we have our item right here. Prefixes, suffixes. Magic rarity items get 1 prefix and 1 suffix. Rares get 6 total affixes, and those are divided into 1, 2, and 3 prefixes, and 1, 2, and 3 suffixes. So, in total, assuming we're within, let's say, Path of Exile 2, or even Path of Exile 1, you would need to get 1 prefix and 1 suffix from the magic. You would then turn it into a rare with a regal, and you would get 1 extra modifier. And then that would leave you with 1, 2, and let's say 3. Let's say we fill in this modifier, right? Let's say these are all filled in now. There's still 3 extra modifiers that you're going to need. So in order to acquire those, you're going to need extra exalted orbs. And Exalted Orbs are the only way that you can add modifiers within Path of Exile 2. I mean, there's other ways to add them. Within Path of Exile 1, you can craft modifiers on. Rather, I shouldn't say it's the only way, but it's the primary way and the easiest way to add bonus modifiers is to use an Exalted Orb. Moving on from that, I think we've covered the basics of just how an item works. If anyone has any questions, please let me know real fast before we move on. But again, we've got the prefixes right here. We have the suffixes down here. It's always when you hold Alt on the item, it will display it as these are the top 3, and these are the bottom 3. It is worth noting, sometimes a specific modifier or affix can have multiple effects. So let's assume you have a modifier and it's like fizz damage, fizz percent, right? And let's say it's like 80%. This is a single affix right here. However, you might also get differently, and it counts as a separate modifier so you can stack them together. You might get one that is like a fizz percent of 40%, so it's less, and accuracy of, let's say, plus 100, right? So this is its own modifier, and these would stack together to get you 120%. Similarly, you can also get accuracy as its own modifier as well, and it would be something like accuracy plus 300, or say 200. Yeah, let's say 200. Let's keep it to the doubles. So these would stack together for 300, and these would stack together for 120. They are separate modifiers, so you could roll all 3 of these on the same item. They are treated, though, as if they are different modifiers, despite the fact that they keep them. And despite the fact that even though this one right here is 2 separate effects, it still counts as one affix because of the fact that it is 2 weaker effects within one modifier. This is how you get those like crazy staffs in Path of Exile 2 that have like plus 250, plus 300% like spell damage. It's things like this, where they roll modifiers that stack the same thing. On a staff, it would be something like plus spell damage plus mana. But for the most part, that's how these work. Here, we are going to write that one affix. Now, I believe we are good on the definition of rarity and the definition of items and how their modifiers are split up. So I am going to move on. If anyone has any questions, feel free to type them in the chat and I will get back to them. We will keep that in its own tab. Moving to the next page, let's quickly discuss how crafting works in a sense. Okay? Now, we are not going to instruct you how to craft an item. Instead, we're going to talk about the rules of crafting. Within both games, they should be similar or the same. But, within crafting, let's say you have an item. Let's say it is item is magic rarity. So it's going to have 2 modifiers. It's going to have 1 prefix and 1 suffix. Magic. Ignore this little A I accidentally did. Cool. So it's going to have a single prefix and a single suffix. You know, I don't want that to say just pre. It feels weird. When you use a currency item to add a new modifier, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to look at what modifiers are open. Let's say use a transmutation orb, and within Path of Exile 1 and 2, this is the same. Let's assume that you only rolled 1 modifier, right? Because in Path of Exile 1, you can technically roll 2 modifiers with a transmute, but this works the exact same within both games. So we'll assume that you're going to add plus 1 affix to the item. It then is going to take every single modifier in the game. So let's assume that there is like 30 prefixes that can be, right? And we'll say there's 22 suffixes. Now, what you might assume is, oh, okay, well, there's 30 prefixes and 22 suffixes, so it's more likely to land on a prefix. And that might be the case, but the way it actually works is let's assume that these 30 prefixes, each of them has a weight of 10, right? So what that means is that the prefix pool is going to have a total weight of 300. And for those of you who don't know what weight is, we'll go over that in just a second, but I first want to get this part out of the way. Now let's assume that these 22 suffixes each have a weight of 20 instead of 10. So now this will go up to 440 as the weight, because it is multiplying each of those by 20. Now, how does weight work? Well, let's assume that each of these prefixes and each of these suffixes, we'll include them as just one variable for now, right? So, because we're right now only caring about, are we rolling a prefix or are we rolling a suffix? So the way that weight works is you take the numbers that are given and you add them together. So we'll say 300 plus 440, right? Now, that is going to equal 740. 740. So this is your total weight. So when an item is rolling, it's going to say, okay, we're going to pick a random number between 1 and 740, right? So now it's saying, hey, we're going to find a random number in this range. So let's assume, in fact, let's pull up a random number generator. Random number generator. Cool. So we'll say 1 and 740 is the max. Let's generate a number. We rolled 158. So because of that, it says, okay, well, the prefixes came first. Those are added first. So if it rolls between 1 to 300, it's going to be a prefix. And if it rolls between, and now we ignore those. So it's like now, or, this is how you write or in code. Or if it rolls between 301 to the remaining 440, which was then going to be technically 740, right? So it's saying, cool, now it did not, if we had not rolled between 1 to 300, then if it's between 301 to 740, it will then be a suffix. Again, this is picking a random number in that range. So, 740. Cool. So, then it would be a suffix. So, within these odds, you can see the suffix has a much higher chance of being picked, despite the fact that there are less total modifiers for it, because each of them is heavier. You can think of weight as how heavy is the item, and if you were to ask a random person to weigh them in their hands, how likely are they to say that one is more heavy than the other? Obviously, if there was only like a weight of 30 and this one had a weight of 4,000, the person, unless someone's fucking with you, you're not going to have someone say 30 is the heavier weight. You're going to have them on average say 4,000. But if you're accepting any answer, then technically someone could say 30 is the higher one. Similarly, we're going to say that if you asked a random person, you handed them one object that weighed 300 grams and one that weighed 440, more people are probably going to say that the 440 weighs more. However, some people might wrongly assume that the 300 weighs more. This is a silly way, but I just want to give you guys a visual reference in your mind for how this weighting system might work. But again, the way it actually works is we take the number 1 to 740, right? So we'll say 1 to 740. And we roll that on the random number generator. What we get again? We got 158 for our first roll. So 158. So that means it's going to be a prefix. Now, let's go ahead and roll that again. 328. 328 is 328. It is slightly above 300. So that means we would get a suffix. As this goes on and on, you'll get more and more towards the average of what you actually want. So, for example, if you wanted a suffix, obviously this is a good statistic for you because it has more weight. However, if you want a prefix, you're going to have to assume that the suffixes will roll more often and take that into account when you're crafting your item. Now, I'm going to do one more roll on this, but I wanted to kind of give one more visual scale. We're going over the important maths bit right now, Grendel. But again, let's assume that we have a bar graph, right? We have one at one point. Ooh,
New routes.
new mycelium. Who joined us? Oh wait, that's the wrong button. Zealot, thank you for the follow. Yeah, so let's assume, as we said, we have 300 right here. So 1 to 300, right? And now we're going to add another 440 on top of that. So the distance here is 300, as we kind of discussed. Now we're going to move on another 440, as we were discussing. And then 300 plus 440 is going to equal the total, which is 740. So this is kind of another visual indicator. We rolled a... Where was it? We rolled a 328. So the 320... Whoa! Thank you, Tom Man, for the gift sub. Oh no, we gotta get the wheel, but like we can't get the wheel. Oh, Zealot, thank you for the kind words. I really do appreciate that, genuinely. Oh wait, Tom Man, you gifted 2 subs. Thank you. Wait. Okay. You gifted 2. That was your second. Okay. Woo. Okay, I got it figured out. We'll have to save that roll of the wheel for next stream, or if we decide to play any games after stream today. Now, again, that 338 or whatever it was to do 328. If we were to take that, we can see that, oh, okay, it's kind of closer to right here. So, since it falls within this bracket range, it's within the 440. The reason why this matters, and why I'm bringing it up, is let's assume that instead of 440, we had one that was 30, right? We're going to say that we have one that's 30, so this range is going to be 30, and that's going to total up to 330. And then we're going to say that we had 210 right here in this range. So now we can see that despite the fact that our total is still 740, and despite the fact that we have new modifiers being added in, it still rolled 328, which is going to be just shy of above that 330 mark. So it would roll whatever this new third modifier is. Maybe we'll call it, I don't know, an exix. I don't know, a suffix, prefix, prefix. I don't know. Yeah, Cardin, that's another good Cardrin. That's another good visual example, is if you just have a bag full of balls, and each, you have 300 red balls, and there's 30 green balls, and 210, blue balls? Did I already say blue, or did I say red? I can't remember. Anyways, yeah, so we'll say these are blue, these ones are green, and these ones are red. And you're supposed to pick a random ball out of that. The chance that you get green is so much smaller. Like, that is such a tiny range. But it is still possible to get. And so some of the modifiers in Path of Exile and Path of Exile 2 are like this. Like, straight up, there's a modifier that has, like, a 100 weighting compared to, like, the 17,000 rating on all the other modifiers it's competing with. $25, Cardrin? Merciless. Might be, if that's a PoE 1 modifier. I don't know. I know in PoE 2, I think the rarest modifier is +3 to all levels, and that's on necklaces, but I don't actually remember. I don't have every value memorized, unfortunately. Anyways, so when you craft an item, the reason why all this got brought up is that when you craft an item, the first thing you do when you add an affix is it says, okay, let's roll a number between 300 and 440. Let's get rid of this green ball from the example, right? So we got the 328. We know that the 328 came up here and it landed within the 440. So we're getting a suffix right here. Well, now let's remove the 300 from that modifier because we know that it cannot be a prefix. So now we're going for 1 to 440, right? So assuming that each of these modifiers, as we said, has a weight of 20, that means 1 to 20 is modifier 1, and then 21 to 40 is modifier 2. And, well, look at that. This is only 28. So it's going to slot right in there, and we will get whatever modifier 2 is within this example. So first it takes if it's going to be a prefix or a suffix. Then after it decides if it's a prefix or a suffix, it says, okay, well, let's check. We got the suffix. We're going to use the same roll. We already have the number. We already have 328. So let's go find out what the next part of that is. Sorry, chat. I just got a call from my sister. My mother is in surgery. It shouldn't be too severe, but I do want to check in on this in case everything's okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's just yeah, she's got like just in a how do you say a dead internal organ that's like necrosizing or whatever. You know, it's going through necrosis, so they just need to remove it. And it's not anything essential, but they just need to make sure that she doesn't have it like bloat on her and like damage her other organs or intestines. So they just really need that to get taken out. And it's a little scary because, you know, any kind of invasive surgery is where you're going around and messing with people's insides. But uh because of that, we, you know, if anything happened, dear God, uh oh, sorry, I just might need to give her a quick call to make sure that she's feeling well about the surgery too. All right, chat. I'm sorry. I'm gonna mute for just a second so I can call and make sure everything's all right. Ba ba ba. All right, chat. I accidentally told my mom have a good night when I was about to hang up because we normally only chat at nighttime, so it's such a habit for me. uh, anyways, hi, we're back. Let's get this next step wrapped up. So, as we have discussed, this is your chance for crafting. You are going to roll one affix. We have decided we are rolling a suffix. We are rolling modifier chew. Modifier chew now gets slapped in here, right? So now, next time that we go to add one affix, we're ignoring this entirely. We don't need the suffixes anymore. You guys can hear me, right? Yeah, no, SH exactly. Sometimes it's just habit. So, now that we have no more suffixes to roll, now we're going to do a new roll of 1 to 300 on the prefixes only. Only the prefixes, because we no longer can even roll a suffix. So we don't have to roll for anything to do with the suffixes. So we can even come over here, we'll change this to 1 to 300, and we'll do a little roll. Alright, we got a roll of 89. Don't know what that is. Well, again, we've said that each of these has a weight of 10. There's 30 of them. So it would go 1 to 10, to 20, to 30, and so on. So that is going to be modifier 8, I believe. So 80 to 90. And we rolled an 89. Nice. So 89. So we're going to say that is modifier 8. So now we have modifier 8 and modifier chew. Let's assume that we are now moving this up to a rare item. Here, we're going to actually get rid of this whole section down here. We're getting rid of this rare item. Or we're going to add, and let's assume that we just happen to roll a suffix. We're not going to worry too much about, like, rolling the prefix versus suffix and all that, right? Now, here's the weird thing. We already said that, for the rares, or the suffixes, there's 1 to 440. And, we already did 20, 40, so it's 20, and then 40 right here. But we already have modifier chew, which is that 40 range. So this section gets axed when we go to roll. So instead of rolling 1 to 440, we will instead roll 1 to 420 and then ignore this modifier. It is not in play. Modifier chew is gone. It does not even consider it as a possible value anymore. The reason that this is important is, let's say that, sure, modifier 1 and chew had a value of 20, 2020. But now let's assume that modifier 3 is a terrible roll. It gives you like a minus 10% damage and nothing else, right? And this one has a modifier of 400. Well, can't be 400. Let's say it's let's assume that this is not 400, but 350, right? So that is a huge, huge range. So anything above, in fact, we even said that that's not in play. So anything from 20 to 350 will roll this modifier 3, which is terrible. We don't want that. Well, what can we do to solve that? There's two options. One is, if this is a low enough modifier, right, then in Path of Exile Chew, you can use greater currency or perfect currency. Let's assume that this modifier only comes up from item level, we'll say item level 1 to 30, right? Well, a greater currency makes it so you can't roll anything below a level 30 modifier. So what that means, or I think it's 35 within PoE, What that means is that this item, this modifier, can't be considered because it's just too low on the bracket. And so now it's axed. And now, instead of having that whole 350, we're going to do 20. So it's going to be 1 to why can't I math? 1 to 70. All right. Now our range is so much smaller. So now we have a 1 to 20, as we discussed. And everything else, all the other, 20 modifiers or so that we haven't gotten, or 19 modifiers, all fit within this range of 20 to 50. So we've gotten rid of the really bad modifier by doing that. The other method you can do, especially within Path of Exile 1, is you can guarantee that you do get the bad modifier. Now, that sounds bad, and in a way it is, but again, let's assume that this is Path of Exile 1. You can use the crafting bench. And with the crafting bench, you can say a crafted, and then it's modifier 3. Now that you've crafted the modifier 3, we know that we have 3 suffix slots. Because of the magic item, we have 1, 2, and 3. Well, now, when we add that next suffix in, since we have this crafted modifier right here, it can't be the crafted modifier. It's not possible, because we already have it. So, it will ignore that crafted modifier. We'll get, modifier, 6 or something, right? And then, once we're done with that, we can get rid of the crafted modifier, and let's say that modifier 8 is also craftable and is, plus 100% damage, right? Now we just get rid of the craft modifier we had, and we craft on modifier 8 instead. And now we couldn't roll the bad modifier, and we guaranteed that we got the good modifier of 6, and we crafted on the good modifier of 8. Path of Exile 2, you can do a similar thing. It's just more expensive. You can either use an Omen of Whittling, because as we said, let's assume that this is a really low level modifier, right? It was a 350. And let's assume that is a level 25 modifier. Well, Omen of Whittling, a whittle bit, just a whittle. And then you whittle a little. The Omen of Whittling takes the lowest level modifier. Let's assume that everything else you have is above level 25. And it guaranteed removes it from the item. Well, that's awesome. Similarly, if you know that, for example, you only have... let's get rid of M6 here, right? And we happen to roll on our suffixes M3. Well, that's not great and all, but let's assume that M2 right here is fractured, right? Fractured means you can't remove it. Or let's say that M2 is one we don't care about. Well, now we can use we can add one more modifier, which we might like, and then we can use the dextral omens. Dextral. And dextral will make it so it only targets suffixes, and then you can take the dextral and you do what's it called? The Abyssal Craft Desecration, which removes the modifier. You could also do a dextral chaos. You could do a dextral crystallization, which removes a modifier. And then it will then take one of the modifiers. Again, let's assume this one is fractured, and then let's assume that this one is just okay, or maybe we don't even have it and we're using dextral crystallization. Well, then it can only take our bad modifier and remove that one to add the new one in. This is how you specifically get behind the idea of targeting certain crafts or removing certain modifiers and avoiding them. This comes up a lot with reduced attribute requirements, because that that modifier, that affix, comes up all the goddamn time in your suffixes. So you can aim to target remove it, and sure, it sucks, if you have a perfect item that has reduced attributes. But even then, it's let's assume we've got M3 is going to be the reduced attributes. Right here we'll have M8, which we agreed is really good. Well, then, assuming that this one's still fractured, even if we remove a suffix, there's a 50% chance we'll get the good modifier and remove it, and that would suck. but there's also a 50% chance we just get rid of the bad one. And that's actually really, like, decent odds for crafting. People like to refer to Path of Exile crafting like gambling, but gambling is like a 1 in 1,000 chance that you win, you know, at a slot machine or whatever. This is no 50-50. Like, you wouldn't, like, sure, you can consider coin flips gambling, but, like, you wouldn't consider grinding in Destiny to get a god roll gambling. And that has way worse odds than this. You know, it sucks when it fails, but the ability for you to manipulate it and control the odds so that you end up in a really good, favorable position and have a really low chance of failing, like, the worst odds you're gonna get is a 1 in 6. That's not bad. If you just raw, like, desecrated an item and didn't care what modifier it takes, sure, it's not the best, but all it takes is one dextral or sinestral omen, and now you've taken that to a 33% chance that you get the item that you wanted. Yeah, Destiny players would fucking kill a man for a 33% chance of getting their god roll, okay? I'm one of them. I farmed, like, over 1,000 fucking items in, what was it called? It was the Menagerie in Season of Opulence, I think it was, way, way, way back in the day during Forsaken. God, what a good season. I farmed so many times to get the fucking gun I wanted. Yeah, exactly. And it's like, people have the audacity to call Path of Exile crafting gambling. Like, a 1 in 3 chance? Hey, I didn't say I have killed a man. I'd say I would kill a man. I wouldn't. I would. Police, FBI. I swear, this is a metaphor. This is a metaphor. Okay, this isn't real. Okay, so that is the fundamentals of the crafting process. Yes, it is very complicated, and that's why I tried to do my best to summarize it during my crafting video. Thanks, Braun. I appreciate it. Good correction, good correction. But it's a very complex process, and you have to get into the nitty-gritty weeds of everything, which is why I need to make that video of my crafting table, guys. I have to do it. I have to do it, and then maybe I can get some programmer who knows how to make UIs better than I do, who can do it for me, you know? That would be really cool, actually. Like, unironically, what if we took the currency table, or the currency stash tab, and did a UI where it checks each slot within your currency crafting table and says, okay, this person has greater transmute. This person has these modifiers. And then you mouse over your, like, item, and it says, okay, hey, let me quickly analyze. These are the currencies you could use on the current item. Yeah, Cardrin, I agree. The making things cheaper is really hard, especially considering how expensive the items are that reduce the modifier variant. I do need to quickly talk about modifier tags, or affix tags, real fast. Because this also comes up. This comes up a lot more in Path of Exile 1 than it does in Path of Exile 2. Because in Path of Exile 1, some of the tags are limited. Yeah, item level I have also discussed, but yeah, I'll quickly go over that. So, item level, this is very simple. We've discussed this before. But item level is a hidden modifier on any item you can see just by holding Alt over the item, or your inspect key on console. Item level, let's assume that you have an item level of 10. The item level dictates what modifiers can roll on it. So, let's assume that you have plus fizz damage on this, like, weapon, and then maybe plus attack speed, and plus, I don't know, bleeding magnitude. I don't think that's a modifier you can roll, but, you know, we'll just say plus bleed. We're making this item up, right? The lowest that you can roll fizz damage is going to be level 6. The lowest you can roll attack speed is going to be level 13, and bleed you can get at 1 and at 14 for a tier 2 bleed. Now, Fizz will also say this goes 6 to 12 to 18 and so on, and then we'll also do 13 to 26 and so on to 39 and so on, right? Well, your item is only level 10. So what that means is the only modifiers you can roll on this item right now are going to be Fizz damage and bleed, because they fall under that category of level 10. But you know what doesn't is the attack speed. So you can only get the 6 and the 1. Let's assume instead, though, that you had an item that was level 25, right? We'll get rid of the 10. You have an item level 25. Well, cool. Now you can roll Fizz damage 6, 12, 18, and even 24, because we said this goes on in multiples of 6. So you could get up to a tier 4, or technically this would be like a tier 6 Fizz damage. You could only get tier 1 on the attack speed, or tier 10, or whatever the lowest is. You couldn't get the 26, because that's slightly above your 25. And you could get tier 1, tier 2, but not tier 3 on the bleed. That is not possible. So the more item level that you go up, the more modifiers you have available to you, and the more of the higher tier modifiers. Now, what's interesting is, let's assume that we have a level 80 item, right? Well, that means is we have 6 all the way to 80, or whatever the highest tier modifier is. It would really suck to get like +1 to 3 physical damage on your weapon. So within Path of Exile 2, at least, what you can do is you can use Greater and Perfect crafting materials, such as Transmutes, Exalts, Chaos, etc. And what that does is, I think this is 35 and this is 50. And it says, hey, anything below, like let's assume you used a Greater, right? It's going to axe everything below level 35. You can't get those modifiers anymore. So you could get the level 39 attack speed, and you could get like an additional physical damage. It just wouldn't be anything below level 35. So you're going to get better modifiers on average. It also means that, let's say that you have that weighting, and it was like, let's say before it was 12,000 weight. Well, now it might axe that all the way down to like 7,000, because it no longer has to deal with any of these low-level modifiers here. So since those modifiers are out of the equation, we have a much smaller item or modifier to roll, which means if we had a single modifier that was like a, let's assume it was a 10 on the weight, we went from a 1 in 12, it would be a 1 in 1,200 chance, which is pretty terrible, to a 1 in 700, which isn't great, but it's almost doubled the chance that we'll get our super rare modifier that we want, which is how you get those extremely valuable modifiers. Now, let's quickly undo all of that, and I got a new comment. Sorry, one sec. Are you going to be doing this all throughout dev hour, or are you going to pause for it? Oh, there's a dev hour going on today? I was unaware. Is that just a thing for Path of Exile 1 or Path of Exile 2 today? Yo, he's fucking got me, chat. He hit me with the devour these nuts. Oh my god, I'm cooked. Oh god. That was good. That was good. Okay. Can someone clip that? I have to send that to B. They would lose their shit over that.
Let's put out new
Thank you, Lily. I was very thirsty.
New routes.
And thank you, Big Poppy, both for the follow and for the joke. I'm never gonna recover from that. You're right. Oh, God. Okay. Now, after I'm done with the dev hour, we're gonna move on from greater, perfect, all this stuff, and let's quickly just let's quickly discuss affix tags. God fucking damn it. That really got me. Also, I was playing a game with my friends who are new to the game, and I couldn't stop calling them chat, because all I do lately is I stream for you guys, and I work on videos, and I haven't played games with friends for like 2 weeks. That's fair, Big Poppy. Danimal. Excuse me. That's what I get for chugging water. Let's quickly go over affix tags. Again, this comes up mostly in Path of Exile 1, but it can affect Path of Exile 2 crafts too. But basically, when you have a modifier, let's say +2 fizz damage, right? We're actually going to bring this up on stream, so we'll go over to Craft of Exile PoE 2 just for now. Let's go to a two-handed weapon. We'll just say it's a two-handed mace, sure, right? Now, we have plus number to physical attacks. You will notice right here that it says damage, physical, and attack. Those are the 3 modifier tags that it has. So, it is going to have the tags of, it was a damage tag, a fizz tag, and an attack tag, right? Again, this doesn't come up nearly as much in Path of Exile 2. Within Path of Exile 1, there's a lot of modifiers that you can only get once. This isn't guaranteed, but basically, for example, within Path of Exile 1, mana is one of those modifier tags that, like, you really don't want to come up multiple times if you can help it. So what you would do is you would craft on a mana modifier so that you could remove it later, and then when you were crafting, you would guarantee so it didn't duplicate a tag you already had. So it couldn't get the mana because you already had the mana tag. This mainly in Path of Exile 2 comes up from, there's an omen that you can get where when you exalt an item, it will try to match the tags of the item to whatever quality you have on the necklace, I think. It's an amulet omen. So if you had on your necklace, let's say you used a catalyst that said, you know, +% to, you know, physical modifiers, right? This is an item you can get. I forgot whose catalyst this is. You would get +% to physical modifiers. Well, then you would get that item that says that, hey, this omen, your next exalt, will consume your quality and try to give you better odds of getting the quality modifiers that you have. Well, hey, look at that. Fizz is one of the tags right here on plus the physical damage. Similarly, I think there's like, for physical, there would be armor, right? Because I think armor has the tags of physical. So if you're trying to get % increased armor on your amulet, you might try to first get this and then use that omen. Again, tags come up a lot less in Path of Exile 2, but the other most commonplace of them is when you are crafting an item and you desecrate it, right? Let's come over here. Let's do a desecrate. Desecrate. When you desecrate an item, it will roll you 3 modifiers. We've seen this before. It'll say like, hey, you get +2 fizz damage. And then the second modifier will be something like +2 attack speed, right? Attack speed. But then you get a weird modifier, and it'll be like % chance to gain onslaught. Right? And that's not a modifier that rolls on items naturally, right? That's like, oh, well, why is that there? It's because you'll always get one desecrated modifier. So if we come back here and we, equip the green, we can see that, like, this third modifier is, it's not always the third one. Sometimes it'll be the first or second. This is what's known as a desecrated modifier. So, because of this modifier's existence, you can come over here and be like, oh, okay, well, we've got these are all the desecrate ones. I could have sworn onslaught was one, but maybe that's just the crafted one. Yeah, the onslaught is an essence modifier. It would be something like break armor equal to % of physical damage, right? Well, assume that this is the break armor one, because I'm too lazy to erase it and rewrite it. Well, you'll notice that this has the tag Aminamu. On all of these modifiers, there are Aminamu, Kurgle, Ulamin, Kurgle, etc. Well, because of those tags existing, you can actually increase your odds of getting those modifiers, because there are omens, like Omen of the Liege, Omen of the... I forgot what the other three are. But basically, there are omens that drop that usually are worth nothing. Sovereign. Yeah. They will give you a guaranteed... It'll be like, your modifier can only be Aminamu. Well, hey, look, if you want increased spirit reservation of skills, that's an Aminamu modifier. So, you might as well try to get that, because there's only 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you're getting suffixes, 5. If you're getting suffixes, there's only 4 Aminamu modifiers, which you can get right here. So, you might as well, 1, 2, 3, 4, you would be getting rid of half of the possible options on your suffixes. Well, now, instead of having a 1 in 8 chance of getting the modifier you want, it's a 1 in 4. So that's how you can use modifier tags to try to increase the odds of getting the crafts that you want. If you ever see an omen or an item and it says gives you increased chance of getting a speed modifier, an attack modifier, damage modifier, etc. This has to do a lot with these tags. When you are crafting in Path of Exile 1 and you are using Delve crafting, which, speaking of, I have Path of Exile 1 open. Let's quickly show you guys what I mean by Delve crafting. If we come over to, let's go to our hideout real fast. We can get these, I think they're called incubators. No, we can just click Delve. Resonators, right? So let's just get a potent resonator right here. We'll get 3 of those, right? These bad boys are really cheap. They come with 2 little sockets, right? I haven't done any delve yet, but we can come over here. These fossils say, hey, you get no cold modifiers, but more fire modifiers. So let's assume on, an item we want to craft, more physical or chaos ailment modifiers, but no elemental. Perfect. Corroded fossil. That's expensive as hell. I don't want to do that. Not for an example when I'm poor. Let's see. More physical modifiers. That's also... Fossils tend to be really expensive. Honestly, maybe we'll do that. More gem modifiers. That one's even more expensive. Man. Aberrant. Cool. Screw it. We'll go for that. 7, 1. Now, this, you can slot into this Potent Chaotic Resonator. And then we'll come over here and we'll be like, all right, let's get one more. We want more speed modifiers. Screw it. 14 chaos for an example. Let's go. So what this resonator does is it functionally acts as a chaos orb. Can I start over from the beginning? Yeah, Vemi, of course. Vemi, you're normally here at the very start. We'll come over to Faustus. We'll say gamble. We need a quiver for this example. So, boom, got a quiver, right? Not a terrible quiver either. But we're going to use this chaotic resonator. It's going to act as a chaos orb, which completely reforges all of our modifiers. In fact, what's cool is we can come over to Sovereign, and I think that we should be able to use Delve crafting, they said, on this. Vesper, All Flame. We'll put that there. We can put this here. Now, we have more Chaos modifiers and more Speed modifiers. We will get no Lightning modifiers and no Mana modifiers. We go ahead and craft. That's really expensive, but that's fine. And now we can see, okay, we have to do Chaos Resistance right here. And then we also got Projectile Speed, probably because of the Speed modifier increase. More projectile speed right there. Increased damage of bows, dexterity, and physical damage. That's a lot of physical to attack. I might grab that. This one's got Chaos Res, which I do actually kind of want Chaos Res, and a lot of increased percent damage to bow skills. Ooh, that's a hard sell. Is that a spare prefix? It does have a spare prefix. We'll go ahead and grab this one. But you can see that we got increased to Chaos, because we used that Chaos, Resonator. And then we also got an increase to projectile speed because it has a speed tag. Chaos and speed. So that's how modifier tags can be used for crafting within this game in general. It's not nearly as good as what we have, though, so I'm not going to actually use this. Oh, well, maybe. That's not a bad amount. Let's see. Increase. We would be losing damage over time multiplier, which I think is actually better. But this is almost as good, and it does have Chaos Res. Oh wait, our current one also has Chaos Res, and it's more. Alright, let's go sell this item. It's trash. Hi, Valerie. Anyways, so that is how you can use these resonators to craft your own items. And it's actually really cool. Yeah, dude, the dev hour, that was so funny. Vemi, yeah, you should definitely watch that. Hey, while I'm in game, how many people want to get into the Path of Exile 1 guild? Because I know there was quite a few of you that were asking me. Guild applications. We got Scub Assassin. Yeah, you are, Anna. But I know there was a few more that went in. Guild invite for Scub Assassin. Now let's get to. We had a few people in PoE General ask. Danklin. Danklin is getting in. I thought someone else asked, too. Is it in general chat? Who won it in chat? I can't remember. The only person that put anything in guild applications was N. Fan content. No, that's Lizzie. And Lizzie's been gone for a while. I miss Lizzie. Lizzie was chill. Yeah, I don't know. Was it Lily? No, I think Lily's got her own guild. Did anyone else want into the Path of Exile 1 guild? Before I stop adding people right now. Damn, Gilded Cavaliers already level 90? I guess if I was playing more, I could be too. Alright, let's quickly go back to this. Okay, so we have shown off now. I'm sorry for the detour. We have shown off how tags can be used to get modifiers you want from desecrations, how tags can be used to get, damage, attack. As we said, something like attack speed's going to have the speed tag. And within Path of Exile 1, at least, you can deny certain tags from even appearing on items when you craft them. Honestly, I hope that they add Delve Crafting to Path of Exile 2. I think it's like the last piece of the puzzle that Path of Exile 2 needs to make really good crafts. I think they need it to be an Exalt type, and it should count as a crafted modifier, or like a resonated modifier, and then it should be like you can only have one of them. I think that would be really good. For the most part, though, this is all you need to know about how to get certain modifiers, how to influence how they work. Items in general, as we went over under the affixes, based on the rarity of the item, is going to have different levels of prefixes and suffixes. Rarity has 0, 2, and 6. Affixes are always evenly split between how much max amount that they have. Max right there. Certain modifiers can have double of a stat instead of a single stat, and then they count as their own separate modifiers, so they allow you to stack really well. I'm trying to think of if there was anything else for all of that today. Was there any other questions that people had on items, crafting, etc.? Today's class was very impromptu, very quick. There's more things to know, like uniques and stuff, but I can't think of anything else that's really essential to both Path of Exile 1 and 2 that can be used within crafting. Again, today's class was incredibly... I didn't have a good course plan for today. Normally I try and spend, a few hours or a day ahead to just plan out what we're going to cover. A question for wands. Hit me with it. Q&A. Vol crafting items. Meneric, we could, but Vol crafting is almost entirely RNG. That is true gambling. You can't really influence Volcraft. It's just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best result. Plus lightning skills, for example, is the wand type relevant? Yes, so Cardrin, for Path of Exile 2, I'm assuming you mean, or do you mean Path of Exile 1? Because there is a difference there. So let me know which you mean on that one. Path of Exile 2, yes. So, for example, let's assume that you have a siphoning wand, right? So siphoning wands are more preference towards certain... Actually, is siphoning wands... I chose the one that's generic, I think. Huh. I was under the impression that it could only get the modifiers that were, attuned to it. But it seems that that's not the case, at least for level of spells. It seems like you can still get all chaos levels, all cold levels, at least within the Craft of Exile, it's saying so. However, it is worth noting, if we come back to two-handed weapons, we go to staff. Notice that there are different staff types: fire staff, ice staff, lightning staff, and physical staff. If we click on a lightning staff, the lightning staff, it can gain percent of damage as extra cold. It can only get percent increased lightning damage. It can't get percent increased cold. It can't gain percent increased fire. And it also is not getting percent increased extra chance to freeze or freeze buildup. Instead, it has increased chance to shock. So within PoE, the staff types, at least, always have to match their element if you want to get that. But it seems that wands do not obey the same rule. I thought that they did, but it appears that with any wand, you can acquire any of the wand's modifiers for level of skills. Which, to be fair, I should have known that because I've bought a dueling wand that had plus to lightning skills and a different dueling wand that had plus to physical. But I had forgotten about it. Yeah. But it is worth noting that on one-handed wands, you can't roll as high of a modifier as you can on a two-handed staff. So if we come down here to plus level to all spells, right? It caps out at +4 to level of all spells, versus a staff caps out at, I believe, +6 or +7. So, despite the fact that the wand can roll more, it does not get as high of a modifier. This is another one of those things, too, where notice that it says gem on these modifiers, right? These modifiers all say gem, 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 and gem right here. Those are exclusive modifiers. If we come back to, or they are exclusive tags. If we come back one phase over to here, those are tags. This is exactly what I was talking about, where the tag itself, so right here, damage attack, if we add over here, one more tag, and it is a gem tag, this is an exclusive tag, which means you can only have one of that tag. You cannot have multiple of that same modifier. I don't know what visually dictates that. I feel like there's got to be some kind of logic behind it besides you just have to know. But I can't remember if there is or not. But yeah, you could not have you could not have plus the level of chaos spells and plus the level of all spells, etc., etc. And yeah, exactly, Cardrin. And not to mention that your offhands could get +2 or +3 to level of all spells if you're running a focus, and then in that case, you actually get more from not using a staff. So wands can, in some ways, be better if you get the right offhand to complement them. But yeah, this gem tag is exclusive. You can only have one of it. I'm going to have to look more into this before I make my crafting table video. Main crossing process without nils is basically aug, transmute. Well, you mean trans, aug, regal, or essence, and then exalt or perfect essence, and filling out with desecrate. Yeah, I mean, Meneric, at least within PoE, that is the general flow, which is that you take the item, you transmute it, start trans, and then you get a modifier here. You augment in the next modifier, chew. If these two modifiers are not good, the item is wasted. It's over. At that point, if you don't have at least one really good modifier, I would just move on to the next item. Get a new base, get a new... you can try an alchemy slam it to find out. But typically, if these two are bad, there's no point in continuing the craft with it. If you had one... if you got, +4 to level of spells on a wand here, then it's worth continuing. Because you have at least one great modifier and you can try to axe this one later with either Desecration, Essence, or Annulling. Now, let's assume, as you were saying, let's assume that we got, this modifier we want it gone. But this bottom one's good. This is the case where you will Regal Orb, because you're going to take a Regal Orb to fill in one of these extra slots. It doesn't really matter which one. So let's assume we get like a Regal here, right? And now let's assume this is like an 8 out of 10 modifier. And this one's like a 2 out of 10. We just do not like that. Well, what we can do is we can use, let's say, we could just use a double Greater Exalt Slam on the suffixes using a Dextral Exaltation. And let's say we get like a 6 out of 10 and 9 out of 10 modifiers down here. That's great. Well, now we have the spare prefix slot, and we have these modifiers. So now what we can do is we can take this slot, and we could either Desecrate it, right? And then that fills in that last slot. And then what we can do is we can take a Perfect Essence or an Alloy. And alloys and perfect essences, these will always come as either a prefix or a suffix, or almost always, right? So for example, I can't actually think of an alloy or perfect essence that guarantees a prefix, but if it had, it would say, okay, well, we need a slot to put this modifier in, right? It's a prefix. Well, we don't have any spare prefix slots, so it has to take one of these prefixes and remove it. So as we've kind of discussed, if it removes the Desecrated modifier, that's fine. We can just re-desecrate it. If it removes the 8 out of 10, that kind of sucks, and that's when the craft is probably finished, unless you want to risk an annulment orb. And if it removes the bad one, then you're in a great situation. However, again, if it hits the Desecrated modifier, then what we can just do is use a Sinestral Desecration and try again, and then it will either hit this modifier again, it will hit that one, or it will get rid of our bad one. So you want to use the Desecrate and the Perfect Essences / Alloys as a means to try to basically get rid of bad modifiers. They are incredibly helpful. Yeah, collect them and reforge spaces, and after Regal, it's a 1/3 to remove the one you want. I mean, yeah, Meneric, you could just flat annul it, but I wouldn't risk an annul because it's so expensive. Instead, again, you should fill in the modifiers on the prefix side. If it was a bad prefix, you should fill in the prefix modifiers, or you should fill in the suffix modifiers and then the prefixes and see what you get. But you can even just start with filling up the prefixes. And then you can use Desecration or a Perfect or Alloy, and those will remove one of the bad modifiers, since they can only hit the prefixes. So it's a 1 in 3 chance. Exactly, Nguyen. Welcome. The orange cat. Right, the orange cat with the white belly and, the tipped white tail and definitely slightly more pointed ears. Meneric, yeah, you could annul, again, as you said, or you could use a Perfect or Alloy at the start, right after the Regal. And you're not wrong that it could, but, like, for example, within this example that we've been doing right here, right? We said that this was how it looks right after the Regal, right? We're at the Regal step right here. So the Regal added here. The Augment added this one. And the Transmute added here, right? If you roll right now, you are risking you have a 1 in 3 chance of losing the only modifier that's worth using on the item. So what you could do instead is just add, with an Exalt, one more prefix up here, And, let's say it's like a 5 out of 10. It's not that good. But now, when we use the prefix alloy or perfect or desecrate, it can only hit this bracket, which means our best modifier is safe. We don't have to risk our best modifier. Because again, if we lose this 8 out of 10, sure, it sucks, but it's not as bad as if we lost this 10 out of 10 perfect, suffix modifier that we really didn't want to lose. So it's better to fill out the prefixes or the side that you don't want to lose from, and then yeah, Nguyen. I changed. I'm a changed fox. But yeah, no. So you fill in the prefixes so that you don't risk your good modifier. And then again, since it says with the perfect or the alloy, assuming that you use a prefix one specifically that adds a prefix, well, in order for it to add a prefix, voice crack there. In order for it to add a prefix, it needs an empty prefix slot. So it can't remove a suffix because of the fact that one of these prefixes has to go in order to make room for it. It is required that it removes a prefix in this context. LG, hey, I really liked your content. So fun to see you talk about crafting. Yeah, LG, it's a lot of fun. I don't know if you've seen my crafting video yet, but that one I'm very proud of, and it will teach you the fundamentals of crafting. We're going over more the specifics of the higher end crafting process and the fundamentals of the systems behind crafting. Things like item tags, things like affixes, suffixes, modifier roll chants, etc. So that's what this lesson is about today. But if you want the more basic stuff, my crafting guide on my channel is very good. It's the video I'm most proud about, so that's why I'm recommending it. I'm not just trying to self-shill, I promise. But yeah, similarly, if you wanted a suffix, let's assume as we did, as you said, right? Let's assume you only have these 3 modifiers. When you try to put the perfect or the alloy, right? Even though it says, hey, it's a prefix right here, right? It's going to add a prefix. The way that it's worded with these is it says it removes one modifier at random and then adds a prefix. So what it does is it says, hey, do I have an open prefix slot? If so, we can remove any of these 3 modifiers because we already have an open slot. It's reserved this slot, and now it doesn't care about anything else. Now it's just going to choose a random modifier. So you could have, a third, a fourth suffix. You could have all of your suffixes filled. But all it cares about is, hey, do I have this prefix slot available? And if so, it reserves that slot. It says, hey, I'm going here. This is my zone. I have taken this spot up. Now I can take any of these remaining modifiers and remove one at random. So it will choose one of these at random. However, when you have no extra, let's assume that you have that, but if you have, this slot is filled, then it's saying, oh, hey, you know what? We've checked. This spot is not filled. So what that means is it can't add a guaranteed prefix right now, so it has to limit its selection to only the remaining prefixes, because it has to empty a slot. It has to first choose one to remove, and then it says, okay, now that there's an empty slot, I can take that spot for myself. That is why it's really important that you make sure that you fill up the prefixes or suffixes which you are trying to add in, if you want to use a perfect alloy, or a perfect essence, or an alloy. Hopefully that made sense. Normal sounds. Yeah. Okay, to be fair, that is literally how I normally yawn. Sometimes. Yeah, Meneric. If it's a prefix or suffix, right? then you want to fill in the side that you want for the prefix or suffix. However, here's where it gets a little dicey. And I'm sorry to like add a bit more complication. But let's assume it's a prefix or a suffix. And let's assume that you are currently seeing a situation like this. You've got your level of spells. You don't want to lose that, right? But now let's assume that on the prefix side, you've got a 10 out of 10 as well, an 8 out of 10. And down here, you've got like a 2 out of 10, right? We're trying to add a prefix up here. And it would suck to lose this 10 out of 10, and it would suck to lose this 8 out of 10. So what we can do instead is let's assume that we rolled like a desecrated modifier down here, right? Well, now all that's left is that we could fill in this last thing and then have a 1 in 3 chance. Like, let's assume we get a 2 out of 10. Now we have a 1 in 3 chance of losing that, or that. You know, that's not great odds, and it would suck to lose our good one. But since we can technically reserve this slot, we could technically roll a 1 out of 5 to remove either this, here, or here. It's still not great odds. Technically, it's a 60% chance of losing a modifier versus a 66% chance for these two. But this is another context where, like, maybe you want to risk sacrificing one of your suffixes so that you can guarantee that you land your prefix. If, let's assume it's a really expensive alloy, like, what was it called? The Astral alloy that was incredibly pricey. I just threw my pen by accident. You know, you might want to guarantee that you get that prefix without losing any of your other good prefixes. So that's another option you have. Is like, or let's assume that you don't even have level of spells, right? Let's assume that this modifier right here is like a 5 out of 10. Well, now you've taken it to a 40% chance of losing one of your good modifiers, your good prefixes, from the 66% chance. Because right now, you could lose, you have a 1 in 5 chance of getting this 5 out of 10 gone, a 1 in 5 of the 2 out of 10, and 1 in 5 into losing the Desecrate, which you don't care about because you can just re-desecrate it again. So now you're in a great situation because you could lose one of these three, which you don't care about, which might even get you a better modifier, because it would, let's say it removes the 2 out of 10, you get your guaranteed, like, great modifier from your perfect essence or whatever, and now you have an empty slot. You could use, like, a perfect Exalt here. And now you went from having a 2 out of 10 there to, like, an 8 out of 10, and you got your good modifier guaranteed on it. Redesecrate is just if you happen to, let's say that instead of, you know, let's assume that instead of like acting this to get your guaranteed modifier, let's assume that it got rid of the desecrated, right? Well, now that got rid of the desecrated, it added in your good modifier. Oops. It added in your good modifier, which, you know, yippee, that's exactly what we wanted. Well, now you have an empty slot here. So, since it's empty, when you go to desecrate it, it will guarantee to fill the empty slot, because that's the only one available for the desecrated modifier. So, even though you lost the desecrated modifier, you can just toss another desecrated modifier on the same slot, and you're fine. It costs 1 extra rib or 1 extra jawbone, whatever. And it's super easy to just toss back on, and now you're good to go. Versus, you know, if it lost this 2 out of 10, you have kept the desecrated, but now it's like you have an empty slot for an Exalt that you can slam there, you know, a greater or a perfect. And then you can still keep your desecrated that you had. Yeah, you don't need to remove the desecrate modifier. If you happen to remove it, that's fine. because you can just reapply another desecration to it, because now you don't have it anymore. But if you happen to remove the desecration, or sorry, yeah, if you remove the desecration, you can redesecrate it. But if you happen to remove a different slot, you just keep this desecration. You know, it's fine. It's just there. You're all good on that one. And then you just fill in this last slot with an Exalt. Yep, exactly. Crafting with Abyss and Omens is one of the best ways to make, like, kind of custom items and figure out items to be the ones that you would like, or to just get a good variety of, like, decent modifiers. Here, I gotta send that clip from earlier to be... I gotta watch it now. It's so good. You got one question about what is the use of Chaos Orb is almost never worth it to use in Path of Exile 1. In Path of Exile 1, yeah, Chaos Orbs are kind of bad, LGs. In Path of Exile 2, they're a lot better. Do you specifically want me to give you advice for using them in the first game or the second game? Because again, they're very different in how they operate. Also, guys, I have to do the obligatory. If you're playing Path of Exile 1 and you have spare subs that you want to give, you are able to give 2 subs to the channel to get a free cosmetic for the... what's it called? For the crafting table. I'm sorry that I'm throwing that shit out again. I just, like... We're like 20 away from getting my mom to play Path of Exile, and... this will probably be the last day I'm streaming PoE 1 exclusively, or doing the Twitch drops for that. Cardron, they might have actually. I don't know. Let me go check. Do. Probably this one is what you're talking about. Reroll a random modifier on a rare item, or reroll 3 modifiers. Yeah, I mean, that's great. That's good that they added that, Cardron. But yes, no, LGs, you were asking about Chaos Orbs. So, Chaos Orbs work in a similar way. Let's clear this up. In fact, let's just do a new layer. So, let's assume we've got our item again. We have our 6 modifiers. Do. 2. Can do straight lines, chat, I swear. Yo, chat, he's good! He can do straight lines! Let's go! Yeah, Denoy, I might extend it for this weekend. You know, 20 subs in a weekend seems somewhat reasonable for us to acquire. Denoy, did I get you into the guild, by the way? The Path of Exile 1 guild? Were you trying to get in? I just want to make sure everyone got in that wanted to. Let's assume Path of Exile 1 crafting, right? Let's assume you have a rare item. And we're going to say you have, you know... In fact, let's mix these up. We'll say you have a 3 or a 2 4, a 3, a 1, and a 6. And we have no modifier here. When you use the Chaos Orb in Path of Exile 1, it literally just gets rid of every modifier you have, and it's like, cool, now you have new modifiers. And it just gives you a completely random item. It could be literally anything, and it's pretty bad. That's like that chaotic resonator that we used earlier is the best way that you can basically get this to work. Now, there are ways to make it better. And it all has to do, at least within Path of Exile 1, with the crafting table. So, with the crafting table in Path of Exile 1, this is exactly what I want it. Technically not this one, but can have up to 3 crafted. You can get this, suffixes cannot be changed, the modifier. You can also get prefixes cannot be changed. So what you'll do instead within Path of Exile 1 is you'll come over here and you'll be like, all right, cool. I want, I have one modifier here, which I fracture because it's a perfect modifier. This is the exact modifier that I want. You'll go on the market, you'll buy like +1 to level of all skills or whatever, right? And then you'll keep this as a magic item, and you'll constantly reroll it with alterations until you get a second modifier. And let's assume that the second modifier is like, plus, I don't know, it's a 10 out of 10 modifier, right? You're going for your 10 out of 10. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to use, I can't remember if it's an essence. It's been a while since I've done this. You either use an essence or like a regal to just guarantee a craft. And what you're hoping for is that you land on a suffix again. So what you'll get is you'll get like a second suffix, right? So it'll be like, a 5 out of 10 suffix. And then you'll craft on the suffixes cannot be changed, which I think in itself is a suffix. It might be a prefix, actually. I think it might be a prefix, but that's fine. It could be a suffix. This only works once. If this gets removed itself, it's gone. But I assume it's a... Here, I'm going to open Craft of Exile so that I don't quote this wrong. Path of Exile 1. We'll just do one-handed weapons dagger, because that's what I crafted this on myself. Suffixes cannot be changed. Is a prefix. Okay. So what you would do then is you would get... Right, you would use harvest crafting to get a good final suffix here. Because I think with harvest crafting, you can just add one modifier of a type you like. It's been a while. But you would get like 3 good suffixes. The main thing is that you want one amazing one and one that's like decent. And then you go ahead and you add that suffixes cannot be changed. Here, we'll just say suffixes cannot, because you guys get it. So, when you then use a Chaos Orb, right? But what you'll actually use is you won't use a Chaos Orb, you'll use a Chaotic Resonator. But same deal. When you use a Chaos Orb in this context, what happens is it says, okay, the suffixes can't be changed. So these 3 will stay the same. They're locked in. Okay, so we'll just randomize these 3 modifiers. Well, the fracture right here, that one can't be changed either, because it's stuck permanently. Cool, so we'll just change these 2. And then since you're using a Chaotic Resonator, you can be like, okay, well, I want one that is only a physical damage attack that gives this modifier. And so what's going to do is it's going to be like, cool, you get 1 fizz %, and this goes away, and now you get a 1 fizz added damage. And now, all of a sudden, you have a fizz % that's good, you have a fizz number added that's good, you have a 10 out of 10 suffix, and then at least like 1 out of 10 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 down there. And what you can do then is like use the crafting table to fill in the last one. And so, yeah. And so basically, that's how you can make use of Chaos Orbs and Chaotic Resonators within Path of Exile 1, because you can guarantee that these modifiers down here are unaffected by the Chaos Orb when it goes off. Now, this is very expensive. This is like a 2 to 10 divine craft. So it's 2 divine minimum, because suffixes cannot be changed, I believe cost 2 divine to put onto the item. It might only be 1 divine. It's been a while. It's been like over a year since I've done this craft. But let's go over Path of Exile 1, how you can make use of Chaos Orbs, because this is very, very straightforward and also sucks. Because, as we went over, in Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 2, in Path of Exile 1, you can just do this part with alterations. This is called alt spamming. You can't change this fracture modifier. It can never be changed. So all you do is you spam alteration orbs on the suffix until you get the modifier that you want. Very easy, very simple, takes very little effort. Now, what takes a lot more effort, unfortunately, and a lot more money, and this is why they're so expensive in Path of Exile 2, is let's assume that you go and you find a magic item, and you buy it off the market, and let's assume it's a wand in this context, and the wand has +4 to level of spells, right? And we'll assume that in the prefix, you get whatever. It doesn't really matter. You could get, like, % spell damage, and it's, like, not even a good tier. Now, you're going to regal this to get 1 extra modifier. You don't care what it is. So it's going to be, like, a prefix up here. And then the final step is that you desecrate a final modifier. 4 is going to be a desecrate modifier. The main reason this is important is that your next step is to use a fracturing orb, which takes about 5 to 10 divine right there. They're very expensive. And what a fracturing orb does... What fracturing orb does is it takes the item, and it says it needs to have a 4 modifier item, and it fractures a random modifier. Now, the reason why this is so good is fracture means that the item cannot lose that modifier ever. It's stuck to the item permanently. Well, if you come over here, sure, we've got a iffy prefix. This one can be like a 5 out of 10 prefix as well. But we have this amazing one that we want. Now, since it has desecration, it counts for this 4 mod item criteria, but you can't actually desecrate you can't fracture a desecrate modifier if it's unrevealed. So technically, it's only picking between these 3 items, or these 3 modifiers. So what that means is that you have a 1 in 3 chance of fracturing the perfect modifier that you want. This is very expensive. Yeah, unrevealed desecration is important. If you reveal it, it can become fractured, and so you lose that. But now you have a 1 in 3 chance of getting this. Now, let's assume that you get the fracture on this, right? You're like, whoa, we got the fracture. So that means that modifier can never be changed. It's locked in. Now, you can use 3 annulment orbs, or just 2, to get rid of everything on it, except for the opposite prefix or suffix. It doesn't matter, right? You just get rid of everything except for 1 other modifier. Well, now that you've done that, you can use a Chaos Orb, and in Path of Exile 1, Path of Exile 2, PoE2, we're going to say PoE2, Chaos Orbs, that will take the Chaos Orb, and it says remove 1, add 1. So it removes 1 random modifier and it adds 1 random modifier. Well, it has to pick one of these two modifiers to remove, and it can't do the fracture modifier. That's not an option. So it will always only remove the first modifier and add a new modifier, right? So what ends up happening is it's going to remove this first one. It's going to be like, cool. All right, you remove that. Now it's going to add either a prefix or a suffix. It can be either or. And let's assume, first one is like a 6 out of 10, right? No good. You toss another chaos on it. It removes that one. Now you got 8 out of 10. Not bad, but you're looking for better. You remove it again. Another chaos orb. And you do this over and over, 2 out of 10. Garbage. 7 out of 10. Not good enough. Keep removing. And eventually you end up with a 10 out of 10 prefix or something. And now you've got two prime real estate, just amazing modifiers that you want to keep up with and have these be what sticks around. Now you have the perfect base to start your item with for the rest of your crafting. That is the main reason you use Chaos Orbs in Path of Exile 2. That is why they're so expensive, because there are these big streamers who go out and they buy 10,000 Chaos Orbs, and then they do this for 3 hours and make a bunch of insanely expensive bases. And then they sell the bases to other people, or they craft them into mirror worth items. Because they're like, alright, cool. I now have 2 amazing god tier modifiers. And now I can go and work on the next one, and the next one. And slowly they fill out an amazing god tier item. It's truly absurd, the process and time commitment that goes into it. But it's very expensive because Chaos Orbs are 80 to 100 exalts because of how much you have to use. Honestly, I think a Chaos Orb is only I think you get 1 Chaos for every 3 to 4 exalts. I think it's the ratio. As just ground drops, Chaos Orbs are relatively common. They might be closer to 1 to 8, but it's they're very common. But the issue is they're so useful and so in demand because you have to go through I was helping Eve calculate this. It was on average going to take Eve to get the modifier that she wanted 670 what's it called? 670 Chaos Orbs to get the one that she wanted. And that was on the best odds. It was going to take 670. And, below average odds, a 50% chance of that would be over 1,000 Chaos Orbs to get the one modifier. And some people have worse luck than that, so they have to go through 2,000 Chaos Orbs to get one modifier. Yeah, exactly, King Wizard. I remember, I think it was Poyo or... God, I think it was Poyo. It was Poyo or Aura. One of them started doing this in our guild, and they went through 20 Divine before they just gave up. Because it's so expensive. And that was when they were cheaper, too. When they were you could get 20 Chaos Orbs for 1 div, and now that's 8 Chaos to a div. Yeah, Elgis. Anyways, Elgis, Elgis, whatever it is. Hopefully that explained it for both Path of Exile 1 and Path of Exile 2, for whichever one that you needed to know about. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, Chaos is... who knows? Another thing that people do with Chaos Orbs, at least in Path of Exile 1, unironically, is they'll just take an item, and they'll just Chaos spam 200 times, and they'll just fish for an item that has 2 good modifiers. They'll aim for one that has a 9 out of 10, and maybe a 7 out of 10, and a 10 out of 10 down here as well, right? And then they don't care about anything else. And then it's like, sure, they spent 200 chaos, but maybe it cost them less than buying the item. Or maybe now they take that item and then they do some more elaborate crafting on it to try to get good results. But those people are crazy because it takes so much time and effort to go over every single modifier to see what's worth it. And it's just such a pain. Yeah, Cardron, I would say most people just use it to reroll their maps. But even then, it's like you could just use a single Scouring Orb plus an Alchemy, and it's cheaper than rolling with a Chaos. That's what I usually do. Uh... Okay. I think we're going to call it today as a short class of Exile, because I didn't have a great amount figured out for this class. I did not make a quiz. We could try a pop quiz if anyone wants to answer, but like I think that's a little bit much. But, you know, it's relatively I always go over with Class of Exile, and for this one, since I didn't plan it out as well, I think it's fine for us to have a shorter, more simple class. Meneric, you got Headhunter? Was that on the private league, or did you get that on main league? Oh shit, I threw my pen again. Wait, okay, hold up. That means we do actually have the ability to... Holy crap, guys. Should we try and get every single unique in the game for our league goal? Because we've already got a Headhunter and a Mage Blood. So if we try to aim, we almost have another month that we could try and get every single unique in the game. We also have to get one person to level 100. Let's quickly go over our league goals real fast. Do 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 boo do 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 boo boo boo. Dum dum da 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 dum ba dum. Oh wait, no. All right, let's just get this up here. We made it smaller, but that's fine. We have from our league goals. We have. I'll have to check, but we're mostly done with the 50 players completing the campaign. We only have about 3 or 4 people that have done Arbiter of Divinity, so we're gonna have to focus on that one. I believe one is done. We still need to get 25 players. I think only about 3 or 4 of us have Ascension 4. For the Trial Master Kills, this one's going to be one of our long runs. I think we have 2 so far. We have both a Mage Blood and a Headhunter found, so that one's good. Get rid of that. We have completed, I want to say, about half of the Pinnacle challenge, and we have about 100 Guild Divines right now between everyone. Maybe a little bit more, and that will only go up with time. And so our main thing that we want to focus on is we want to try and get 1 player to Martyr, 100 Trial Master kills. The other stuff will just happen naturally, and we should try and get every single unique in the game. I think that is what we should do. Oh, this is for, well, is the class or is the challenges, Grendel? The class today was for both Path of Exile 1 and 2. We kind of just generally cover both. Cardron, what is the Gnawing Sash again? Gnawing Sash, Corrupted Nexus. Unique belts. I don't even know what that is. The Gnawing Sash. What a weird fucking... That's such an okay at best. Really? That's so expensive? Drops from the Eater of Flesh at the Corrupted Nexus. I mean, sure. Yeah. In a worst case, we could just chance orb the fuck out of it. Oh, wait. It cannot be chanced. Fuck. Well, Cardrin, we'll find out, you know? Ignore my stretching and yawning, chat. It's not weird, I swear. I mean, same, Noi. I want to start doing more streams of our PoE private league, which will be starting back up again on Friday. This week, I just needed to catch back up. I needed to do the Path of Exile 1 streams. And yeah, besides that, we're all good. Let's quickly go over to this screen. Let's see. How close are we to Mama Sui plays Path of Exile? I need to make that a bit bigger. Okay. We need 34 more subs to get my mom to play Path of Exile. We'll leave that about that big, which is kind of larger than normal, but, like, you know, I want it to be apparent. Apparent, like my mom. You know, assuming that all goes well with her surgery, and it will. Anyways, but yeah, no. I'm excited. Oh, really? I thought I had a delve tab. Weird. Oh, chat, now I want to play Path of Exile. Fuck. I need to take a break. I need to make food, use the restroom, take a shower, and then work on the video. Yeah. Anyways, thank you for everyone for coming today. Again, we're calling class early today, I think. We're going to just focus on, you know, enjoying it for what we had.
Let's put out new mycelium.
New mycelium?
Ugh, new roots.
Who's the new mycelium? Sumo. Wait, Sumo, you hadn't followed before? What's up with that? I thought that you were already following me. I thought you were subbed, even. What the hell, Sumo? Damn. Sumo, did you manage to catch the class, or did you unfortunately miss it? Since it seems like you might have just gotten here. Oh, wait. Class. Right. You caught the tail end. Yeah, exactly. Work calls, and for me, work is playing games, which is great, but also making videos, which takes a lot of time. But I'm having fun with it. I just wanted to get that Path of Exile 2 endgame guides done. But I think I've told you guys before, we're going to save it. We're going to save the release so that it doesn't screw our channel. Which does mean that it's going to take a little bit. And I'm sorry that it's going to. Okay, I'm going to let you guys know my plan for the future, okay? So, step 1. Finish endgame guide, right? Endgame guide. All right. These are for the videos. Step 2, private league video. I should do this soon, actually, while the private league is still going. Step 3, make another 2 build guides. 2 more build guides. We're going to do the Bleed Huntress and the Pathfinder. Ghostfire Pathfinder. So those will be those. These are my goals for the videos. 4, which actually I want 4 to be in one of these 2 spots, right? 4 is going to be my crafting table bit video. I really want to make that. Crafting table. I'm writing this for myself too, so I don't forget. This is going to be me making a mock-up of how I would implement a crafting table into Path of Exile, and I think it's going to be great. I'm very excited for this video, and unironically, I might look into how I can program it after I'm done with the video, assuming that I can make the UI look good. 5. And this is the hardest part. After we get all these videos done, we'll have about another 3 months or so until Path of Exile 2 goes full 1.0. During that time, I have to create and not, this is important, not release a class guide for every class in the game. So, what that means is I need to make currently 8 different videos in this span of time, not release any of them, and then, once 1.0 comes out, release all class guides probably 7 days apart. You know, it's going to be like 3 to 7 days apart. So I think this is the best we can do to set up success for our channel when 1.0 comes out. Elgis, they have announced that the next patch for Path of Exile 2 will be 1.0, and that, or the next league, and that will come sometime after ExileCon. ExileCon happens in November. So I have about 4 months until ExileCon. Well, 3 months now, as of 2 days from now. So I have about 3 months until ExileCon. And then after ExileCon, it will probably either release the day after ExileCon or a couple days after, or it's going to release like the month after, depending on when Grand Theft Auto is coming out. Because they don't want to overlap it with Grand Theft Auto 6. But these are my goals, because I am going to have to find somewhere to make extra small, low-effort videos during this time. You know, extra small videos. Low-effort videos, because my channel is very high effort, and it takes so much time to make my videos. But I need income. I need income from YouTube. I need income from Twitch. And specifically, I need to grow my audience. I can't get Twitch partner right now. We're not averaging enough viewers anymore. I need 75 average viewers for 7 days out of a month. And I'm just, you know, we're averaging closer to 20, 30. Sometimes we hit 40 or 50, but it's not quite enough. And I love all of you guys being here. But I need to make sure that the audience for the channel grows so that we can get that Twitch partner. Because I want to be able to keep making content long term. So I need to make extra small, low-effort videos, release them during the time that I'm working on these big ones, and they also have to be releasing during this time when I'm making these videos, because these ones will be a lot of super high-effort videos that I'm not allowed to release, because if I release them before 1.0, I'll be screwing myself. And so I need to make them generalist videos that teach the basics of playing every class, but not in detail enough that the devs might screw me over by changing information. Denoy, the crafting table is not going to be an advanced crafting guide. It is going to be my mock-up for a crafting table for Path of Exile. So, you guys have seen my crafting bench. To do video project. Let's go over to crafting is easy. Crafting table. Here, let's open that in its own window. So, this is my crafting table, right? And this... Hello? Copy, paste. Okay, fine. We'll click and drag this over. So this is my crafting guide, or my crafting table. And the way that it works, or this is like my crafting board that I made so that people could understand how crafting works better in Path of Exile, is like these slide in and out to signify items. Yeah, and they're modifiers, right? We've got the prefixes over here, we've got the suffixes down here, so I can move these around and be like, oh, hey, look, you know, we slide in a new prefix right here. You guys have seen the video if you have seen it. However, I don't want this to be what I do. You know, this video, this is nice and all. I like this. But this is different. What I want to do is I want to make a new menu, a completely new UI, make it look like it fits within the setting of Path of Exile. And so effectively what's going to be is in the middle, you're going to have your item. Right? You're going to have a slot for your item. Let's get a random item, you know? Let's just grab an obliterator bow. We'll say that you took your obliterator bow, you slapped it in the middle there. Cool. Now it's in the item slot. Now it's going to say your item right now is a normal rarity, right? There's going to be a button down here that says something like just craft. And when you slot this in, on the right side and the left side, it's going to have a bunch of little buttons. And it will display what kinds of currency you have. So this one might be a transmute orb. This one might be an augment orb. This one might be etc., right? I'll probably have the currencies actually on the left side. Yeah, probably on the left side. Anyways, and what will happen is that right now it's a normal rarity. So you can't use augment or exalt, whatever. It will show all these, but they'll be grayed out. So you won't be able to click on this. This will be highlighted and it'll say like, you have ×5 or ×3, right? And maybe we'll even within that have like a greater and perfect little button that you can press, right? It will tell you how many of each you have. You will click on the transmute orb, and what will happen is that there will be a little menu over here that shows your current modifiers. So right now, it will say what's going to happen. It'll be like you have a normal bow, and it's going to make it magic. And it's going to add +1 prefix or +1 suffix, right? It will tell you that information. You're going to hit enter, or you're going to click this craft button, and all of a sudden, your normal rarity item will become magic. Woo! And now the transmute will be grayed out, and instead the augment will be selectable, or the exile, whatever. Probably augment, regal, etc. And then it will be like, hey, you have, 8 to 10 fizz. And it's going to say that this is a prefix. And then when you say, all right, I'm going to add an augment, it's going to be like, you're going to go from magic to magic. And it will say, down here at the bottom, it'll say +1 suffix. And then all you do is you click the craft button, and now it adds your suffix. And so the entire idea Yeah, is it's supposed to be like Craft of Exile almost, but you can do it in game. It tells you exactly what currencies you have on you, what currencies you have in your storage. There might be a checkbox that's like down here, and it says use storage. Can you guys hear that car alarm? That's my car. I gotta go unlock and turn off my car chat. Anyways, the use storage, you would click on that, and that would do its thing. Yeah, B accidentally may have put my key fob through the washer, and so it keeps setting off my car alarm. It stopped, so I thought it was good, but I guess it's not done. Anyway, so if you click to use storage, though, it would show items that are in your storage, or otherwise it would only show the currencies that are in your inventory. I'll be right back. All right. So, I went out, I got it sorted, I turned it off, sat back down to talk to you guys, and then immediately it started going off again. So, I have moved the car down the block so that hopefully it won't pick up the keys anymore. Anyways, yes, this is what I want to do, chat, for my crafting table. I want this to be a UI resource in-game. Show off how it could be implemented by GGG officially. And then, hopefully, maybe it catches their eye and they're like, wow, this Miles Sweet guy, he actually knows how to do some game design. Looks like he's applied to our company a couple of times. Maybe we should reach out to him. Okay, these are my goals. Yeah, Denoy, I might do some kind of thing like that. Like, I don't mind. Dreamcore does that, where he just talks about, like, the statistics and, like, variables and, like, random stuff. I wouldn't mind doing something like that. Excuse me. But I just don't want to do, like, I don't want to do lazy videos. Like, again, the thing that I was showing off. Craft of Exile. Woo! Class of Exile! Let's go! I didn't read the syllabus. It's the first day of class. Have you taken a college level course before? Normally they hand out the syllabus first day. It depends on the course, though. This is about how lazy I want to get. Class. We need to make sure that you guys are keeping up with the material as we learn it. Can you use your phones as calculators? You won't need to, so put it away, Jasper. Class 1. Here, let's... After class today, yes, there will be a pop quiz at the end of class. I guess it's not a pop quiz if I'm telling you right now. The quiz is graded. The quiz is graded. So there you go. These are about as low effort as I want to go for my videos from now on. So this is the goal. This is the end result. This still took like 5 hours, 6 hours for like 2 minutes, 3 minutes of footage. But I also was fucking around and making stuff and getting distracted. Nguyen talking about low effort videos. That's not really low effort. However, I could go over each weapon set and the different skills that they have and the ways that they can interact. That is something I wouldn't mind doing for fun. But again, it's not really low effort. But, yeah. God, videos just take so long to produce, man. Especially ones that, like, I make. Honestly, I'm flabbergasted the guy who works at GGG and does their, like, build of the week showcase videos. God, he's so good at editing, man. I am thoroughly, like, I want to be like that guy. I want to make my videos on the same caliber as him. He is exactly the same kind of editing style that I do, and he does it in the same amount of, like, sense of humor, but information, like, present it well, that I want to do. So I need to find a way to copy that guy. Or at least find inspiration. I can't believe I was like, yeah, I need to think of low effort builds or like get videos to do. And you said, oh, how about we do a video series showcasing every skill in the game and all their potential builds? I feel like that might be a little bit counter to my goals. Yeah, Shiver, it does. Especially my style, where sometimes I just, like, make really... I don't know if I showed this to anyone, actually. Let me show you guys something that took me about 4 to 5 hours to make, and I'm very proud of it. Well, first off, this is a different one, but... This was just an effect that I made for my Stormweaver, my Elemental Tempest Stormweaver build. This effect also took, I want to say, 4+ hours. And that was 7 seconds of footage. But it looks fucking good, okay? I'm just saying that effect looks clean, chat. Like, we got the streaks going on for the fireballs. I have these little lightning bolts that are surrounding the lightning effects as they go down. We got the snowflakes that glow and spin. I'm so happy with this. Moo, what are you doing? Moo. Stop it. Cut it out. Stop being a brat. Give me that cat. What a good cat. Anyways, I wanted to show off PoE Endgame. Where's the PoE Endgame one? I just, there it is. This effect took about another 3 to 4 hours, and I'm so happy with how it turned out, chat. Hold on, we gotta have the sound on for this. Hopefully it doesn't blast our eardrums out.
Pet that dog.
Pet that dog. Good timing, Segret, right as I was going for it. Alright. Breach is another one of the more simple League mechanics in Path of Exile 2. It's clean, chat. It's clean. The little fireball, it's got the little swirls and shit. Look how good it looks, chat. And then it, like, becomes a sphere. And we got the wobbly and stuff. Self-glazed the fuck out of myself, but, like, it took so long, and I'm so happy with how it turned out. Breach is another one of the more simple League mechanics. And that's just me talking normally. I think I also showed this one off to you guys. Hey, I'm Mousewee. That is going to be my intro for our lower effort videos, where I don't want to bother making a whole intro every time. So, you know, I made this as a teaser for it. Or, like, as an example. Okay, I'm walking into the mist way too quickly. See, it's clean. It slides in on top of the footage and, like, just becomes... Yeah, it's good. It's good. Chat, I've spent so much time editing. You don't even know. I just want you guys to know I'm not slacking, I swear. I'm also happy with this one, too. The next League mechanic to discuss is known as Ritual, and is thankfully a fairly simple mechanic for the most part. Yeah, it's just like it grows onto the screen. Oh, wait a second. The Ritual effect is missing. It's supposed to look like, The next League mechanic to discuss is known as Ritual, and
Like
is
that.
thankfully a fairly... Moo, what are you doing? But yeah, it's supposed to grow in from the sides. I am gonna have to make sure that I fix that, actually. Huh. I wonder why it stopped growing. Anyways, chat, I'm sorry. I got hooked on talking about the editing because it takes so long, and I feel bad. I feel bad when I'm working on something for so long and no one gets to see any progress. And I'm like, oh, they probably think I'm slacking. Nothing cool's coming. And I get anxious, chat. Okay? I want to show off my progress. Thanks, Segret. I appreciate it. Okay. We are gonna have a brief end to the stream today, I think. You know, I was thinking about that, Denoy. I was worried about it though because not a lot of you guys are on my Patreon. If you guys would like to follow the Patreon as free members, I would appreciate that too, because then I can still start sharing stuff to the free members of the community. And then anyone who wants to pay, I would also appreciate that as well. But having free members as well just lets me know that there's an interest in the Patreon and that it's worth posting stuff. I think we have like 4 people, maybe 6 people of everyone on the YouTube and Twitch that are on the Patreon right now. This is Badger. I don't know this is Badger, actually. This is Badger. Looks like he did Path of Exile. Content. Neat. Damn. His last reaction was Sentinel League. Poor guy. He's rip as fuck, dude. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah, no, I never watched this guy. He was actually before my time. I got into Path of Exile 1 around... Affliction was the first league I really got into the game, but I want to say I played 1 or 2 leagues before Affliction, like a couple of times, but I never really got hooked until Affliction. Affliction really just grabbed me and yanked me in. Sumo, don't give me hope! I want to work at grinding gear games so badly as a game designer. I want to do it so much. I have to. I have to. That, or maybe I could, like, if their current editor, for their channel doesn't want to keep, the job and he has to move on, there might be some up and coming YouTuber who has a similar editing style and a strong desire for making fun, digestible content with a clean editing gimmick. Who knows though? Who knows? Chat, I'm so sorry. Yeah, Sumo, agreed, but it has happened. They do hire from out of New Zealand. You just really have to show off that you're an expert in your role, and then you also have to like get moved to New Zealand. So there's a lot of extra tasks and stuff. I'd say I've already applied twice. I'm not going to more for a while, but I will at some point. Who knows? But I was applying as a game designer. Game designers are very... Every time that you're getting into the game development field, people will say that they want to be game designers because they have good ideas. They're like, oh man, I've always wanted to make games. I have such good ideas. I'd be so good at game design. And that's the thing, is people see game designer as the easy mode of game development. They go, oh cool, I can just be the designer and think up the ideas, and then other people can make them. And so you get all of these people who fill the roles who don't know how to actually design games extremely well, because they don't know how to develop a game, so they don't know what goes into it, and they play games, but they don't appreciate the design behind games. And so because of that, it's an extremely oversaturated market of people who want to be designers. And so in order to get a job as a designer, you really have to stand out, which is why I need to work on more game projects so that I have a better itinerary to show off. But also why I want to make videos where I discuss things like this, This is design. This is me showing that I understand like how the core systems work, how to make it approachable, stuff like that. But I need to also make sure that I'm always improving and learning to design better. And so I also want to be making more games to improve my skills in that regard too. So, in order for GGG to ever hire me, I have to make good efforts to show off that I know what I'm talking about and that I'm good at design already, but also that I can improve and that I am above average or above like the rest of the crop. Especially because game designers, you don't need a lot. You only need so many people that can give you ideas because ideas are cheap. Anyone can make an idea. It's being able to implement an idea. That's what makes it really hard to get a job as a designer. And I need to show off that I can implement ideas and make them like reality. And yeah, crafting table will be a nice start. I want to make some other ideas. I had another one that I want to make, which was like a terraforming the Atlas kind of idea where you would put this item into a tower, and then the item would cause the tower, when it reveals the area, to create a temporal bubble. And then that bubble would change the biomes of all of the maps within that realm so that you could get a new variety of map types. And those maps could have maybe bonus modifiers or be more likely to have powerful mobs or more likely to have cleansed maps, etc., etc. And it would be some other thing that you could get from the Trial of the Second modes besides just Spectrum. And then you could also get it from various maps or league mechanics or etc. I think that could be really cool. I want to make more game art too. Like I want to make a bow that looks like this, dude. I know it's a 3D model, but like this would be cool to like draw and get looking like pretty good and stuff. Oh, anyways, chat. Now I'm getting all whimsical and mopey trying to think of all the things I want to do. AJ, you just bought the game. Well, I'm assuming that since you said bought the game, you mean Path of Exile 2. And in which case, I have an entire beginner's guide on my channel, AJ, which I strongly believe is one of the better ones on the website for people who are actually new. If you have not watched it, I do recommend you watch my beginner's guide. I specifically made it for brand new players because of the fact that I was really tired of the fact that most beginner's guides did not tackle the game for new players. So I hope that that can be helpful to you, AJ. Besides that, the only things to keep in mind is you can always change your class at any point. You can always just make a new character if you don't like what you're playing. Classes are not restricted to the weapons that they start with. So even if you play a mage, you can still use a bow or a crossbow or whatever. And when you're looking at the skill tree, make sure you zoom in and don't focus so much on all the skill tree. It's so much information, there's so many nodes. Just focus on the small areas around where you start on the skill tree. Like if we come over here, PoE skill tree, right? The skill tree is very intimidating. It's very large. We come over here, we can see, oh god, there's so much on the passive skill tree. It's terrifying. It's awful. But if you just zoom in, it's like, oh, okay, wait a second. All I need to think about is getting damage here. Okay, now that I got this damage, what are these other big nodes? Usually focus on the big nodes before anything else, because the nodes around them, like this one gives you chance to shock and lightning damage. Well, you notice that the small nodes near it give chance to shock and chance to shock. Similarly, this one gives increased damage if you've dealt a crit. Well, if you look near it, crit chance and crit chance. This one, increased skill speed and mana regen. What's near it? Skill speed and skill speed. So all the smaller nodes will be related to the big node that they're near. So pay attention to the bigger passives. So this one, increased attack and cast speed, and then 5 dex and intelligence. This one is attack speed, skill speed that lead up to it. So as you go through, AJ, just remember to focus on the big nodes and don't zoom out too much because you'll start getting overwhelmed. Just focus on like what you have near you, and if you need something, you can search for it. I don't have the game open right now, but on the top right there will be a search button, and you can right here. So we could type attack, right? In game it'll be similar. If you type attack, you'll see all of these nodes that give you attack area damage, attack speed. You know, those things will be what you're going to want to look for if you want more damage. If you want more armor, you would type something like armor. Well, there's nothing on this side that really gives you armor, so let's come over to where there's a lot more armor nodes over here. And now you can be like, oh, okay, cool, armor here, so on and so on. But I would recommend you start with my beginner's guide, not to self-shill, but just because of the fact that I really made that guide with the intention of helping brand new players to the game, and I would say that it is a decent resource for if you're new. You can skim through it, and I have timestamps. So just go to the sections that are confusing you if you don't want to watch the whole thing. You would like an endgame guide showing off the top 3 to 5 chase items, how much they go for, and how they're used. King Wizard, that's, again, that's not really the kind of content I make, because I like to focus my content on stuff for new players. And endgame chase items are something that, like, 1 in, like, 100,000 people will ever get. You know, maybe 1 in every 10,000. And that's not a majority of anyone that's new to the game. I would say of all the people who start in this league, maybe 1 or 2 people of everyone that start this league will reach any big chase items, like a Mage Blood, a Headhunter, Temporalis especially, stuff like that. Those will be like almost impossible for new players to get. And they're not something that I think that they should be concerned about. Because being like, hey, I know you're new, but here's the final item you should ever acquire. Like, that will make them feel bad about the fact that they haven't acquired it yet. Yeah, the Path of Exile 1 skill tree is a little bit different. The way that the Path of Exile 1 skill tree works is similar. You know, you've got attack speed here near the attack speed and chaos, and this one gives attack speed and chaos. But they have these clumps. And these clumps will be like, oh, this is a dagger mastery clump. So all the passives in it will be related to daggers. Increase attack speed with daggers, increase damage with daggers. And then when you get the final node within a clump, like right here, we got the poison node right here. So now we can grab one of these 6 passives as well, because we got the big node. So, you know, we got enemies poisoned cannot deal critical strikes. So now that we acquired the big passive here, we can spend 1 extra skill point to get a poison-related passive. And it doesn't matter which one. Like, if we had gotten this, we could have grabbed any of these 6 from this. But let's say we want all 6 of them, we're going to have to go and find 6 different poison nodes, like this, poison masteries, around the skill tree. I don't even think there are 6 either. Poison mastery. Let's see. Yeah, there's only 3. So you can, at least with poison, you can only choose 3 out of the 6 here. Meow, 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 meow. Some of them, like life, will have a lot more, though. Like life mastery, I think there's like 10 of them, or 12 of them on the whole skill tree. Oh, hey, there's another poison up here. I didn't realize that. This one's really bad for me, though. It's spell poison effects. Yeah. It should be, AJ, when you click on my channel, it should be the very first video that pops up on the main page of my channel. It's called Path of Exile 2 is actually not that difficult. If you're playing Path of Exile 1, my very first video on my channel was a Path of Exile 1 is actually not that difficult. And that one's also really good. But that was my very first video, so I was a little bit inexperienced with that one. But the Path of Exile 2 is actually not that difficult. Is a good video, lots of good details, and it will be made for a brand new player's perspective rather than people who are returning. A lot of PoE 2 content creators will make Path of Exile 2 guide, and then it will be like for beginners, and then it will just be them talking about the end game for 25 minutes because that's all they care about. But like that's not what you need to know when you're new. Yeah, Menerick, I cannot believe you got a headhunter. Like, I need you to understand. I have over 1,000 hours in Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1, and I've never seen a headhunter or a mage blood in either game. One of my class skills shows dot for bleeding, but I can't see anything saying it can't apply bleed. Shows that skills doesn't show dot for bleeding. Shiver, are you saying that one of your skills is supposed to bleed, but for some reason it's not? Or... I'm a bit confused. One of my skills doesn't show dot for bleeding, but I can't see anything saying it doesn't apply bleed. It's not showing the DPS with the bleeding. Shiver, if you are in-game in Path of Exile... Oh, Tigris, thank you so much for the gift subs! I appreciate that. Sorry, I just... voice cracked. I appreciate that a ton. Astral Depths and Zephyr Sonano got gift subs. Nice. My voice always cracks. Thanks so much. I do genuinely appreciate it. That's working towards more spins of the wheel for next stream chat. But Shiver, if you mean, like, in here, if you click on, like, the skill here, I'm assuming you're talking about Path of Exile 1, not a Path of Exile 2. If you clicked on the skill, and then you're looking in the offense section, damage per second is right here, and then ignite damage per second for main hand crits, bleeding damage per second for main hand hits. In here, it will display that kind of information. Yeah. And you're saying it says it doesn't deal any bleeding damage. Do you know if the skill itself does physical damage? And do you know can you tell me what the skill is? Because if it doesn't deal physical damage, and if it's a spell, it cannot bleed. Only attacks can bleed. That's actually something I ran into that really, really upset me when I was trying to do a certain build last league. Wild Strike. Okay, so Wild Strike is an attack, and it should be able to bleed, I believe. Actually, I think Wild Strikes only does elemental damage, right, chat? Let's go find out. Lily Roth. Meow, meow. Meow, meow, meow. Wild Strike. Your melee weapon strikes enemies, converting physical damage to a random element. Shiver, this is why? Because it converts all of your physical damage to an element, and only physical damage can cause bleeding. So you can't cause a bleed with elemental damage, except for with specific uniques that let you convert elemental damage into bleeds. So that is why your poison damage is not being listed with that skill, because, your bleed. Yeah, bleeds are only from physical damage by default. It's harder to know that because Path of Exile 1's not as good about, like, you can't mouse over stuff as easily in Path of Exile 1. They're trying to add, like, the keywords into Path of Exile 1, but it's not as good as Path of Exile 2's system, where you can just mouse over and click on stuff, and it's, like, right here, this is a Path of Exile 2 mechanic, where you can just mouse over, click on it, and it tells you all the info. They haven't backlogged that into everything in Path of Exile 1. Otherwise, you would be able to see that bleeding only is dealt by physical damage. So, like, chance to bleed. Bleeding deals physical damage over time based on the base physical damage of the skill. So that's why. And yeah, Tegris, sorry I didn't say it, but yeah, no, I appreciate you. And I'm glad that you felt that you wanted to support us here at the community and me, and hopefully you stick around. We'll be probably not playing much more Path of Exile or anything today, but on Friday we'll be streaming again. By the way, chat, I'm going to have to do a community announcement for this. I'm thinking I'm going to start taking Mondays off. I don't have enough time to be working on videos consistently. And working Friday through Monday and then only having one day off before Class of Exile meant either I didn't have that one day to relax and recover, or if I did, then I wouldn't be able to work on the video. And so I could only get worked on videos like once every other week. And so I think taking Mondays off will be really helpful to me, because it'll mean that Monday I can spend relaxing and recovering, and then Tuesday I can be working on the videos. That way, even if on Wednesday we have Class of Exile, I'll still be able to get good work done on Tuesday. But again, I'm not sure yet, but I'm thinking that Mondays we're going to start taking off. I've talked a long time about taking less time for streaming because I need to work on videos more. But I just, I need to make sure that I can get the... You're my boss and you don't pass this day off. I'm not permitted, Nguyen. I think all of you guys are my boss, technically. If you guys were like, yeah, look, we're going to stop coming to your stream if you take Mondays off, then I don't get a choice. I would have to keep doing Mondays. I would hope you guys wouldn't abuse me like that, but, I am a victim at your whim right now. No. Yeah, exactly. I need a day to decompress and then a day or two to work on the videos. That's why it's like, want to see my new mid-tier staff I crafted? Gilded within Path of Exile 1 or 2. You can put it in the stream chat channel, and I will give it a gander. If you want to just take a screenshot of it. Within the Discord, live stream chat. Oh yeah, that's true. Go ahead. Yeah, link it in that guild chat. Oh shit. I did not mean to open global. Or trade. Wow, the two I didn't want to click. Yeah, Denoy, I am going to try to edit a bit more today. Nice. Hold on, level of socketed skills. 2 to socketed melee skills. Interesting. Is this a melee staff then? I'm assuming, like a quarterstaff, basically. Increased physical, chance to impale. Nice. What is the physical Wait, brother, you said your mediocre staff. You got fucking all tier 1 modifiers. What do you mean, your mediocre staff? You got all tier 1 and the maximum amount of level of socketed skills as possible. The only weird one that I see on here is the minions have increased attack and casting speed. Like, do you have a thing where you get bonus modifiers from your minions' attack speed or something? Is that even a thing on the skill tree? I know there's the one where you get the bonus damage from your minions. Increases and reductions to minion damage also affect you. This is annoying, by the way, because it's increases and reductions. More modifiers do not affect you still. Where is that one? Down and right from the minion damage one. A pair of clusters. Oh, interesting. Increases and reductions to minion attack speed. Yeah, that's sick, actually. That's really cool that you got that. I didn't even think about that, but you know what? I did a Death Knight setup once, and I should have considered something like that. That would have been good. But yeah, no, that's sick. Ah. It has a ton of extra attack speed. Though it's worth noting, this crafted modifier, this increased attack speed right here, this is a local modifier, so it actually affects the attack speed of the weapon. While this minions one is a global modifier, so it's getting diminishing returns. So it's not as good as it seems, just so you know. Like, it's not bad. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad at all. But this is a additive versus this is multiplicative. So the minging one isn't as strong as the like weapon modifier. Yeah, it is a 5 affix staff, that's true. It's really hard to get anything better. Granted, don't forget there is wait a second. We just went over this. Hey, wait a second. Gilded Cavalier. You could these are all prefixes that you have. You could do prefixes cannot be changed, and then you could use a primed chaotic resonator to guarantee attack speed roll on your suffixes. And then that would let you and then you could use what's it called? You can go over to the boat, the Sovereign, and just guarantee you get like a good roll from right here from Vesper, because he would give you 4 rolls, I think, since you have no intangibility on the weapon yet. So that might be your next step to upgrading this weapon. I might be wrong though. Don't do that like without thinking, Gilded. But I think that is 100% like because you could get prefixes cannot be changed. And then since prefixes cannot be changed, you can chaos at one time. So you could get 3 good suffixes, even if the attack speed doesn't matter. Oh, you're not doing damage. That's so... Oh, okay. I see Gilded. But yeah, no. If you want to ever upgrade it further, you could get these chaotic resonators. You go to your hideout. I think, is it the primed? Is it primed chaotic resonator? Yeah, primed chaotic resonator. It's about a div, I think. Yeah. About 1-to-1 with a div. And then you would use that with Delve. You would probably get like Minion, so Bounce Fossil. That's only 7 chaos. And then like Speed Fossil. You would get Sundering, and then like 2 more, and then you would just get a really, really good rolls on the suffixes. Menric, you have to make sure you have Vol Orbs in your inventory. You have to have them in your backpack, like when you walk up on it. That's all. But yeah, Gilded Cavalier. Let me go to the emulator, actually. Before I encourage you to do that, let's go to the emulator. Meow, 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 meow. And then we can actually Control-Alt-C. Is that it? Import item. Import. Okay, so we have your item here. So if we go to suffixes and we say crafted cannot be changed, so we would put that on it. I guess first you have to remove crafted. There's a way to get rid of crafted modifiers, right? Yeah, remove crafted mods for 1 nil. Here, we'll type remove. Why is it not coming up? Do 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 do. I can't emulate this if it doesn't let me get rid of the crafteds. Yeah, it is very annoying. Okay, so if we just get rid of the... If we just copy it like that, let's see what happens. Okay, cool. So now we just have all the prefixes. So you would remove the crafted modifier, and then you would say prefixes cannot be changed. Add that bad boy on there. And now you go and you would get a chaotic resonator. Oh, you can't use an item that has a metacraft, right? No, you would use harvest crafting. You would get minion, I think? A minion harvest craft? It's either that or a speed harvest craft. There's no minion, so you would do speed, and then it would only give you, yeah, attack speed. So we'll undo that. It would guaranteed give attack speed, I think. I don't think it can give anything else but attack speed. But it's not guaranteed to be a high roll. You could, but again, oh wait, no, you couldn't harvest craft at wait, but you can reforge, actually. Reforge with speed. Interesting, interesting. Could we minion it? Nope. Okay, interesting. But yeah, you could get speed on it, maybe some crit chance, and then you could craft on that minion modifier. Yeah. Foulborn. I forgot, what is Foulborn again? You can also beast craft it. If you wanted to. That might not be terrible. Oh yeah, Veiled Chaos Orb is another really good option. Oh, you already have a Veiled prefix, never mind. Do. Yeah. Wait, why don't I see that here? Yeah. There's a lot of options you can use here. You can just you could just Chaos Slam it, honestly. But why is Felborn not an option? Harvest crafting is probably the best option you can get. But yeah, I don't know. Blessed Orb, Warlords. I don't see Feldborn. Yeah, Gilded Cavalier. You could just gang the prefixes can't be changed, and then doing some kind of reforge is how you can get some really good outcomes here. But again, I don't know why I'm not seeing any kind of Felborn that you're mentioning. Are you sure it's still in the game? It might not. Wasn't there chat, didn't they add a thing at some point? It's under Exalted. Ah, I see. I mean, okay. Yeah, yeah. There's not too much that you can do with this besides just harvest craft, add a modifier, and then it says it removes another modifier, but you can't remove anything except for the prefixes can't be changed. So you could do that, get some attack speed, and then you could take the Falborn Exalt, slam that, get something like physical damage leached, and then do that all at the boat in game. That's the best way I would go about it. But and then like at that point you have one more crafted modifier you can add, and so you can go to suffixes, minion attack speed. Yeah, minions have increased attack speed. Put that crafted modifier on it. I think it's probably a tier 1. And then this would probably be like your best outcome for the weapon. No, Impale only works for one hit after your initial hit. And I don't think it says your attacks Impale, not your minion's attacks Impale. So it only would work when you hit an enemy, and then the next hit after you hit an enemy would extract that Impale. Impale and PoE 1 might apply multiple times. I forget. When an impaled enemy is hit, it reflects 10% of the physical damage of the impaling hit to that enemy. It lasts for 5 hits. So the next 5 hits on an enemy from you or your minions will take 10% of the damage of the impaling hit and deal that back to the enemy. So if you hit for 1,000 damage, then every time your minions hit that enemy for 5 more hits, that enemy would take an extra 100 damage. So 100 or 500 more damage, basically. So it is a 50% damage increase, basically, but you need to be hitting occasionally, and the hits that you hit the enemy with should be big hits, if possible. Oh, sorry, you were saying if it's better than minions deal percent increased damage. Yeah, I don't know, actually, Gilded. But I wish you luck. Chat, we were supposed to end like an hour ago. I got caught away. Oh, that's good. All right, we're going to end stream a little early today. That way I can get to working on videos, relaxing, and what was it? We will see everyone on Friday. This will be a pretty quick Class of Exile. Let me go back to the class screen. That's scary. I don't like that. Do 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 do. I wish it was better at drawing floppy. B does all the art for this channel. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you guys for coming. We will be back with our normal stream on Friday. His face is facing the wrong direction, and it's bugging me. Hold up. Chat, I can do this. I can draw my own mascot, I swear. Good enough, good enough. We'll take it, we'll take it. Alright, thank you guys. I will see everyone. Yeah. He looks like it's hecking windy, you know? There's a strong gust blowing on him right now, and he's kind of squinting his eyes against it. You know? All right, everyone. I will see you all on Friday. Thanks for coming. Anyone who needs me for the Path of Exile 1 or Path of Exile 2 guilds or league, let me know in the server. I should be more available now. But I will talk to everyone Friday besides that. Thank you guys for coming, and we will see everyone later. Bye!